business, and we'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's get right into the highway reports, and then we'll come back and approve the minutes and the other items. For the board's benefit, at 11 o'clock, Marquee Roads, the HR person will come in, so that's in addition to the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Again, as a reminder for the sanitation sites over the holiday, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve both occur on Friday this year. So on these days, as usual, only the Jasper, Ireland, and Huntingburg sites will be open. They will observe holiday hours, which will take place from 8 a.m. until noon on both December the 24th and December the 31st. All sites will be closed on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, with both take place on Saturday this year. So Friday will be half day, Saturday will be closed. DOT clearinghouse set up. We met with David Tucker and Kyle Bramas, who represent NECS Fleet Solutions from Jasper. NECS specializes in this type of work and handles many large firms nationwide. Our discussion was to understand more about the regulations concerning the operation of submission to the clearinghouse. They informed us as a governmental agency that we were exempt from some of the items that we understood to have to fill out. So as a governmental agency, we were exempt. So we won't have to be filling out some of those forms that we thought we were going to have to in the first place. So they're not interested in taking us on as a client because we're very small. However, they plan on keeping us on an email list to keep us up to date with legislative changes. And I think that's, along with some of the work that we thought we were going to do, or had planned on doing, and keeping up with legislative changes. I think we've got that answered. They're going to put us on that email list and kind of keep us up to date with what's going on. So there won't be any real need to do anything with ITI. So
that's the follow-up to what we talked about last month,
right,
or last meeting, and so you don't think that we'll necessarily have any this summer?
Yeah.
We can handle it ourselves, so that's great, that's good news.
Yeah.
A little money savings and less compliance issues for you.
Mm-hmm. Makes it a lot better because it looked like a much higher mountain. Right. Yes. Now, we had Ann brought everything to the table when we had the meeting, and they were pleasantly surprised that we had substantially completed pretty much everything that we needed to. So,
what was the name of that last firm that we talked about last meeting?
ITI, Indiana Testing. They do our own site.
Right, but we just don't need them for additional services.
No. So we should be okay there. Okay, I brought along the freeze-thaw ordinance in order to prevent damages caused by excess weight on county roads during periods of freeze and thaw conditions. This ordinance provides a 10-ton gross weight limit on all county roads in Du Bois County, except for 3rd Avenue from the Jasper city limits to State Road 162. The effective period is from Saturday, January 15th through Friday, April 15th. With your approval, we'll need an ordinance number and signatures.
I'll move that we approve the ordinance for the freeze thaw as presented.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Can I share that? I had a commissioner in Orange County ask me what we do in this respect. Can I share this with them?
Public
Yes.
record.
What was the ordinance?
Thank you.
I'm trying to get one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I believe Elmer, the state statute is listed in this publication here, so that would be a way you could also look at that.
Do you have an electronic copy of this?
Second each one.
Okay, thank you.
I only need one
Thank you.
word.
You can't have, you can. I'll get you one. There goes your number. That's Steve's number, not mine, I'm okay.
She gonna make you walk over and get your own number.
I can do that.
All right, next.
Okay, next, CenterPoint Energy contacted me late last week. They are planning a line upgrade. During their project, there's going to be 54 poles that are going to need to be replaced along a specific area. Most of these are within their right of way. However, the trucks, the extended outriggers that they're planning on doing the work are quite large. They stated that when they're in operation, the road is going to temporarily be closed because these things will take up pretty much the entire roadway. So, in a good day, they said they can replace 3 poles in a day. This will be pretty much a moving closure on some of these roadways that'll be impacted. We're going to be working with them to develop a schedule when they plan on starting so we can inform Central Dispatch as well as the public about these closures and timeframes that we're looking at. So the roads that are going to be affected basically start with the generating station down on 650 West in Patoka Township, the Duff Station down there. They're going to start there. It's going to impact 650 West and 600 West in Patoka Townships, 600 West, 620 West, 150 North, 600 West by Newhoff and Wagner Supply, 200 North, 300 North in Madison Township, and then in Bainbridge is 300 North and 36th Street. So those are the roads that are going to be impacted during the line upgrade.
Is this, what's the utility on this? Is Du Bois REC?
Du Bois REC is a lot of it, yeah.
There, okay, it's not a veteran on that thing? It's not a veteran lines?
I think some of it,
Oh, it might have been Vector.
yeah, I think some of it is,
If it's coming out of Dutch substation, I thought it'd be veterans.
yeah, but I think there is a line that runs, and I think it was, I don't know if it was the old Duke line or something, but it does run through Ireland and back down that way. So, but this is CenterPoint Energy who's doing it, so.
I didn't know if it was Du Bois REC, whether this could be part of the project that we're involved in with the
I don't believe so.
broadband. I know they're starting right away. I was talking to Mr. Henson the other day, and he said they've got crews out already working on it, so.
So
And they're getting lists of upgrade needs from Orange County Fiber and PSC, and the whole process has started.
So everything's kicked off and taken off.
But I didn't know if this was part of that or not.
I'm not
I
sure.
think so.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So is this a standard poles that we're used to, or is this like larger utility?
It didn't really specify. I'm sure some of these are probably aged where, you know, they're needing to replace them to get them upgraded. Now, if there's going to be additional fiber optic line on there, that almost makes sense because the extra weight and wind drag on it would cause an issue on an older pole. So that could be a
That's a
possibility.
good point as to whether or not these are distribution lines to residents or whether they're incoming
Transmission.
transmission lines.
That's what I was
Oh,
assuming,
okay.
the transmission line.
Yeah, I'm assuming they are.
The route he's talking about, I have like poles, but it's all transmission lines in those areas.
So I guess what I would ask is, like you said, you're gonna contact central dispatch, but the public is, I don't know how do you do that? Because if they take an extra day at a place, it's hard to inform people.
It is, but I think, if you're looking at like 600 West as a nice long stretch, if they can only do 3 poles a day, I don't know how many on 600 has to be taken care of, but they could impact that for several days with the length of that road, so.
And so when this happens, they put up the road closed, they take care of whatever the rule is at the last stop sign where you have an alternative route, they take care of all of that.
Yeah.
County Highway is not responsible for
Yeah,
that.
they handle their own traffic control, but I do want to stay in touch with them so we can get it out to dispatch and the public about the work that's going on and look for different.
So how can we give our consent to close roads when we don't know when and for how long? I mean, we just giving a blanket?
Pretty much on the permit we would, and since it's a moving target, it'll just be a blanket for this project.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see any other way that
Yeah, I
they'll be able to get it, so.
I guess I'm thinking I'm the person that lives on this road and would say, hey, it'll be closed some days between this month and you don't know when.
Yeah, it's it's kind of like doing road work out here. I mean, it's a necessary evil. We're just gonna have to temporarily live with it. It's a minor inconvenience. But if they can do 3 poles in a day,
Really good
depending
run.
on their locations,
I don't know.
3 poles a day, 54 poles, 18 days.
so.
No, I mean, I want to be able to let them do it. I just want to make sure that we're not.
And they won't be closed all day, like, they won't be closed through the night or anything, although they'll be closed while trucks going up and then they'll move and.
Let's try to stop.
Are they closing the road completely, or are they putting a flag?
Likely they're gonna have to.
He sounded like it was gonna have to close the whole road because when they stretch their outriggers and get down, it'll be wide enough that nobody's gonna be able to get through, even a 1-lane traffic. It didn't
That's
sound
why I was
like
thinking
it.
of transmission lines, because the equipment that they're gonna need to set, these are bigger than just a distribution pole.
If you're comfortable with it, because you'll be getting the first phone call and then it'll come to us. So
Yeah.
as long as we can do the best we can to put, even if Brent usually put together a little blurb, I can throw it on the Facebook page too, just so people have, maybe they will or won't see it, but at least we've tried to make contact with people that maybe during this month expect the road to be closed a couple days. So do you just want us to, are you asking for consent to allow this? Or are you not?
Yeah, I mean, we need to allow it. I don't see any other way that they can get the project done. Just more for FYI and then letting the public know that this is gonna take place in these areas and a little bit of patience will be required for them to get through it.
Any opposition from the board to allow the closures?
No,
None here. Okay.
we're done.
Okay, and then if you look on the back page of the handout I gave you, we have items belonging to the highway that we wish to declare as junk, and 3 of these have been traded. With your approval, we'd like to remove these from our inventory and have these submitted with this next inventory.
How will they be disposed of?
How long?
How will they be disposed of, or, what's the plan for?
Well, I think some of these, like the battery backups, this type of thing is going to be recycled material.
1957 gravel spreader, we got another use out of that.
Yeah, we did.
No, that's going to go to scrap iron, and then that money will be put back into the budget. So,
Generally, I think what we ask is that you take a picture of it and we can see if any other departments will need it. I don't think that would be the case here.
You don't think my office could use some of this?
You want to grab it?
Yeah, the assessor's been looking for an old firehouse fire. Yeah,
Well, I was kind of looking at the truck there. Is it operable? I mean, is it?
It's traded. It's traded.
Oh, it's traded?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Oh, I see it now, yeah. I missed the last line over there. Traded, okay. So you're just taking it off the inventory?
Mhm.
Okay.
they're either overworn or
Yep.
inoperable, right, everything, so. I'll move that we approve, declare declaration of junk for the items listed on this inventory list.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Steve.
Okay. So I'm right with you. A couple things on that one, so go up.
That'd be fine. Sounds good, thanks, sir.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
You said to me, well, we're gonna need.
While Brent's getting settled here, we'll go ahead and do the payroll. Does anybody have any changes, addendums for the payroll? I'll move that we approve the payroll as presented.
Second.
2021.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We have the minutes from a December 7th special meeting, the one where we discussed the regional sewer district. In addition to that, we have the meeting from December 2nd, regularly scheduled meeting. I move that we approve the minutes.
7 or 6?
We have one from the 7th, it says here.
The second was another special meeting, I think.
That was three of them.
You had the one with bid openings, and I didn't make it too. Yeah, the sewer
So we've got the special district, or special meeting for December 2nd for bid improvements for the county park. We've got our regular meeting from December 6th, and then the special sewer district meeting for the 7th. So I'll move that we approve all of them as written.
I'll second.
Any other discussions or changes? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And finally, we have the claims against the county and the voucher expense report. I see no changes needed. Anybody else? No. I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Wendell.
Okay, community crossings, just an update. I spoke with NDOT last week, Friday. They're getting a contract from us, or set up for us. And then I'll present that on to you guys, and then I'll do the DocuSign after your approval. They did have a question concerning if they need to get it in a hurry, can I get a consensus from the board through via email to approve it or not approve it, and then I'll bring it, get the DocuSign done, and then I'll bring it to the meeting via formal approval. How do you feel about that? And if I get the contract, get it to him, he says yay, nay, then I'll send an email to you guys, get a consensus to go ahead and proceed, and then I'll bring it, just so I can keep the ball moving,
I think that's a good path forward.
and then we'll get a formal approval.
As long as you have the consensus, you have the okay of consent of two commissioners.
Yeah, so, okay, and I'll do that. That's okay. I just want to make sure I did that before State Road 56, when they did the unofficial detour, 175 East got some significant damage. There was 3 areas on there that got damaged. I spoke with NDOT. We made a plan. Since the road, it's a chip and seal road, it probably needed a little work anyways. Steve and I both agreed that we'll do the work to fix the road if NDOT pays for the rock to rebuild it. As you can see, there's 3 areas. I'll pass it down. But on 175 East, off of 56, there's a 10-foot spot, a 60-foot spot, and a 390-foot spot. That went bad. They started pumping everything else. The chip and seal fell apart throughout the whole thing. But again, it's a chip seal road. We're going to drive on anyways. Who's to say it wasn't in fault point anyways?
This is east of the.
Yeah, the Centerwood curve right here.
Mhm.
So these spots were definitely because of the detour. There's no doubt about that. So I spoke with NDOT. They're going to talk to send it to their higher ups to see if we can get approval. This is more or less just information for you guys. So if the public asks, yeah, we know about it. We're working on it. We're trying to get an agreement set up with NDOT that they'll buy the rock if we do the work.
We do the work, buy the oil, we pay for the oil.
That's one of those older roads that just doesn't have a base.
Yeah.
Underneath it.
So-
Semi-traffic, you tour it around.
Are you just figuring these 3 lengths per rock for that, or for the whole?
Just those 3 lanes for the job. Just for, I think you're gonna do the whole road, or definitely patches along the whole road, but NDOT will just be responsible for these 3 spots. The rest of the road just showed deterioration, but these 3 spots were the ones that were significant.
We're okay with keeping it that kind of road surface?
Even chip seal, yeah. Because minus the detour for Centerwood curve, it doesn't get used that much. It's not needed a blacktop road. They seem pretty understanding, and the area engineer is going to go out and look at it, do his assessment as well, and then we'll go up and then we'll decide how we're going to proceed from there. But I just wanted you guys to be aware that in case the public calls, says this road's falling apart, we know we're working on it. It's, this takes a little longer. They got a few more avenues they got to go down before they get approval.
Are they finished? They're
Yeah,
not finished?
Centerwood should be done.
Is it done? Okay.
Should be complete, because that's why they called me to,
just to check it out.
they called me to get the official detour taken care of, and that's when we found those 3 spots.
Okay.
The rest of the detour is fine. It was held up really well.
Have you, I mean, I assume you've driven on the new road, and why is the surface, I don't know, the surface just seems different than regular asphalt, just seems more rough.
It is rougher.
Why is that?
Because it's a skid resistant asphalt.
That's the purpose.
It's one extra friction because that's
Still
why we're
skid
sliding. Yeah.
Makes sense, I guess. I just, the first time I
think
rode
it
it, I'm
was-
like, they did something wrong, or this doesn't seem
I
like.
think it was a
normal.
trial basis too, is one of the Purdue things that they do research, extra friction to see how it holds up and goes. So they did it there because it's slid, everybody slides in that curve. So. But it's a skid resistant surface.
From the first day it opened to now, you can see a lot of that surface is already worn. I've noticed that.
Yeah,
I drive that road somewhat often.
right.
But here's your paper if you want.
Yeah, I'll get one done here. The courthouse war memorial. So I guess, I wasn't at Monday's meeting. Did you go over that meeting we had with Community Foundation and the amount of fund revenue that they have available for us? And it was a good meeting. I don't know if you went over that at all or not. The commissioner meeting that I was not here.
We've discussed it
Okay, so
I
they,
know.
I emailed more than
more,
anything.
yeah.
okay. So went through, I guess Scott has got.
Actually, we're gonna talk about it at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Gotcha. So the fence work, so they take down the fence, they're gonna sandblast it, repair it, fix the welds, and then repaint the whole thing, which is phenomenal. He's gonna wait till we're ready to do the wall, and they're gonna pull it all down. It'll be gone for a couple months because he's busy right now. It's too cold to really be painting and sandblasting right now anyways, so it'll go back up. But whenever the wall goes down, they're gonna take the fence before we take the wall. So I'm getting plans done now. I'm almost done with my plans. And then I'm gonna, at the first of the year, I'm gonna talk to about 3 or 4 contractors to see if anybody'd be interested in doing the wall. I know of 2 that it will be, so I'll at least get 2 firm prices to do that. So we're good there. The one thing I do wanna know is how we wanna handle the guns for the memorial. With the funds we have, we would be able to sandblast and paint them, make them look nice if we wanna keep them. If we don't wanna keep them, we wanna get rid of them, that's fine. I just need to know how to get going because I'm afraid if we do all this work to this monument, get new fence, new wall, get the monument stones fixed, the guns are kind of look shabby if we don't sandblast and paint them if we decide to keep them. If you look at them closely now, there's a lot of rust showing. The paint is kind of globbed in certain areas where they've just been painted over. They haven't been actually sandblasted and the details gone out of them. So how do we want to proceed? That way, because Scott's been asking, I want to know
There's a chance when you sandblast, we're gonna find out there's a lot less there than what we.
And that could very easily happen. I'm not, yeah, that could very easily happen. But we need to do something. I hate to leave them like in the shape they're in. If we're gonna do all this work to this monument, make it look really nice.
My
I think, and, you know, it's later on the agenda, but, I think that remains to be seen. The veteran service officer is involved and maybe doing some surveying and that sort of thing. So I think that decision has not been made as to whether or not they stay there. If they stay there, I agree with you.
We need to make a decision sooner than later though, too. I don't want to pressure you guys, but at the same time, I think, because once this goes, we want to keep rolling. I don't want it to die, let's put it that way, so.
It'd make it a little more convenient if we're gonna do work there to do it when the fence is gone, then we're gonna crane it out.
Right, yeah.
Because they're heavy.
Yeah.
They-
We're gonna have to pick them out anyways. We're gonna probably get a crane in to pick them out
Those tires
anyways.
are useless on there.
Yeah, they are.
My suggestion would be to contact the DuBois County Museum, see if they would be interested in one of them. It's also a war military museum in Vincennes that I would call, and I would give obviously the DuBois County Museum first choice. The other museum wants the other one,
If we
if we
remove them,
choose to get rid of them.
if we remove them, but that's the decision that needs to be made first.
And like I said, if we decide to keep them, if they decide to stay, we do need to stick some money into them, I think, because they're gonna look, they're gonna look bad if we keep them in and we do all this work to this monument and everything.
Are you gonna be here for the duration of the meeting?
Yeah.
All right, 10 o'clock, we'll talk about it again. That's when we can maybe dive into it a little bit deeper. We have about, we only have a few minutes on the agenda for it, but we'll address it there. Perfect. Yeah. And so we'll keep things moving along now. So
You got anything else for me before I sit down?
At the moment.
I don't think so, not that comes to mind. It might 10 minutes from now, but
Let's do the 2022 appointments. That should get us caught back up a little on our agenda, keep us on time to our agenda. So let's just go through them one at a time. We'll start with the 4-H Council Board. I believe Commissioner Bramas had done some work on that with
yes, and Madison Diesel is willing to take over for, and is already on the board, but be willing to take over as our appointment for Jake Menor, member, who is leaving the board. And Janelle Holsnar is moving into the president's position, which was Tyler Kissel's position. And she is also willing to serve as our appointment on that board. I did talk to Mr. Kleesner, because I think last year the intent from the beginning was that it would be one commissioner and one council appointment but when the new ordinance was, our new agreement with them was signed, it said both commissioner appointments. So Mr. Kleesner said, go ahead and do that again, because they are basically finished with their appointments. And he's comfortable. I shared with him what we were looking at, and he's comfortable with that as well. So
Sounds good. So what we'll do is we'll go through every one of these appointments, and if one of the commissioners has a question or a problem with them, please speak up. I won't ask for each one if you have a question or a problem on them. So if there is, just make your voice heard.
So when you want to sign these?
We can sign them after we approve all of them, probably. All right, next up, 911 Advisory Board. The existing team is good to stay there with myself and Scotty Blair. So that one is fine. Airport Authority, our one that's up is Ben Schwank. Benjamin Schwank, he is going to stay, so we're good with that one. David Ring on the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, he's willing to stay for another term. Ryan Young as Ambulance Coordinator, he's good. And Area Development, also known as DuBois Strong. Commissioner Bramas, you're serving again, correct?
yes,
Okay, so that one's fine. The next appointment, I believe, is on the next page. The custodian, Scott Hope, county attorney, Greg Schneier. DuBois County Child Protection Team, Autumn Gogol. Ferdinand Planning Commission, Mark Dilger. Health Board, where are we at on that one?
Dwayne Hope has agreed to serve.
And whose position is he taking over for Mr. Fisher?
Correct.
And then Ryan Flamion, we got that one, he's staying. Okay, so Ryan Flamion and Dwayne Hope. And what's Mr. Hope's, is he an agriculture person?
Yes, he's a farmer.
Excellent. Ann Messmer, highway clerk. Brent Windham, highway engineer. Stephen Bird, highway supervisor. Huntingburg Public Library Board, Lauren Tanner. This one's good, correct? Commissioner Hostetter serving on Indiana 15 Regional Planning Commission. Pamela Catt for Jasper Public Library Board. Northeast DuBois Fire Protection District. So the Steve Dodd and Michelle Cave. Park and Rec Board. Where are we at with that one, Commissioner Hostetter, with Mr. Hosnar? Tony Hosnar, did you?
Yeah, he agreed to reserve. So you-
Yeah, I have a check mark there, but I want to make sure. Property Tax Board of Appeals, Brian Smith and Dwayne Pearson. Solid Waste Management District Board, Ken Seacard. Tourism Board, Chris Treader and James McFall. TriCap Board of Directors, myself. And Steve, is everyone still good on the Weed Control Board to serve another term?
Yes.
So that would be James Meyer, Ken Eck, Mark Hoaxang, and Pat Eckerly, in addition to yourself. That concludes our appointments. Any final comments or thoughts on any of those?
No, I think it's complete.
I move that we approve the appointments as they've just been presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And now we will sign our names for the next 10 minutes.
These talking to people who do it.
Purple.
I was gonna go with red. Just so you know. Petrie, probably like that.
Red or green?
Red.
There was one point where we, novice painted out green, and they said, let's start using green instead of red.
We have green here. Yeah.
For what? For grading papers?
Grading papers and what else, yeah.
Sandy, would you like us to just affirm our?
I think that's just in there for,
Placeholder?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just initial it. If you don't finish that one.
Did I miss one?
You signed me,
Oh my gosh, were we out of order?
yeah. How do we do that? We just,
All right, I signed Elmer's name place here, because
should I just cross his and put mine there?
Do you need some whiteout? Would that help?
we just white out the names in general.
Yeah, it's right at white house
Because
signature.
none of the others had our names on them. I just want to- So I just picked one that one.
I can have them bring another one over, how about that?
No, the others have names on
No, they
them.
didn't.
This one you can just put in the file, I believe. It's just got a place for everybody. Yes.
I usually mark you like.
Okay.
That's
Then you'll have-
fire. She'll bring a new one.
Is there a next place?
Clock at minute
Yeah,
for you.
let's just put it in the file. Let's not take a picture of this, because this has got contact info for these people, so.
Same way with the next couple. This one just has a place for one signature.
That's just going to the file.
Same here.
Some of the student appointments, when you guys have a chance.
Can you get a list of the appointments?
Yes.
Do you, do you have a list of the appointments? I mean,
The ones we made today.
the ones we
Yes.
made today.
When I get them typed into the minutes, I can give them to you that way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So how do you want me to get it to you?
Just, whenever it's convenient, something, you could email it to me or in person. I just wanna have a list of the appointments to make sure I put, any changes out there, so.
Yeah, I don't have a list, I mean, the only thing I have is this and it's a, I mean, it's not,
But got appointments that are due with, they're not all due this year.
Okay.
That list has all of our, and the council appointments and all of that. So it's better if she gets the minutes listed.
Okay, thank you.
just gotta give you your email, I can send it to you when I'm getting finished.
The Sports at DC Herald email. Thank you.
sports@dchero.com.
Thank you.
Trying to figure this one out. Oath of office. I guess whoever puts the,
Is that the, alcoholic beverage?
no, this is the library board. So I suppose whoever does the oath with them will be the one to sign, and
I think that's how it is.
because I signed at the top as the appointing official, but at the bottom I believe will be whoever performs the oath. So that one I don't think needs a signature either. Nothing on that one. I didn't even draw that. Nothing on that one.
Well, that was quick.
She's standing outside the door with it, or?
You didn't sign that, did you?
Well, you turned it.
So this was the extra one.
I'll check the name on here.
Then we may screw up again, so be prepared.
Here's Mark's. I'm gonna get rid of the other one.
This is information only, that's the judge's appointment. Last one. Mr. Schneider, do we have bids to open at 9:15?
Not plural, yes.
We did.
Very good.
Sounds promising.
If there's a bid, that means we've met the minimum. All right, we have 3 minutes till the bid opening, in case somebody wanted to come in and watch those. So let's get this miscellaneous item out of the way. I brought it up at the last meeting about the GIE, Governmental Inter-Insurance Exchange. We can, because we're customers with these folks, we have a right to vote for a qualified nominee to be on their advisory committee. There's Diana Biddle from Brown County, she's a commissioner up there, I believe. And then somebody, 3 other people, I don't know who they are, and then Mr. Cale Canese from the city of Jasper. So if we want to make a vote, I'm not sure what it'll really, if it'll do a whole lot for it, but I guess my recommendation would be that we vote for Cale because he's close, and if we have an issue, we can always talk to Cale. Unless somebody wants to vote for somebody else, or we can ignore it altogether. Don't think it'll make a whole lot of difference.
That makes sense to me.
Commissioner Brown?
Is it, so we just vote for one? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay,
We will vote for the following nominee.
okay. Yes, I'm good with that.
All in favor of voting for Cale Canese for the GIE Advisory Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Sandy, would you please attest to my signature and would you mind mailing this to Frank Pinson? He's on the file. Thank you, ma'am. Being the time for bid openings, it's 9:15. Let's turn it over to Mr. Schneider.
Yes, as we've discussed in the past, the parcel of property owned by the county, we published notice as required by statute, as well as sent notice to all adjoining landowners. The time for them to make an offer of any kind has passed. We received one offer from Terrence and Janet Kleinhelter in the amount of $1,500 plus all costs to close. And with that in mind, my recommendation, that being the only offer that we've received, statute allows us to proceed in a certain manner. And I would recommend that the board give authority to me to work with these individuals in accordance with Indiana Code 36-1-11-5.
And for the,
That was the amount that we had set as the minimum as well, so.
again, everybody's so familiar with the piece of property, the L shape, and doesn't have any value to the county. I think it's, I would propose that we move forward with accepting the bid as it is, and I think it's for the best interest of the community. Anybody have any other discussion?
No.
I agree with you. Okay. I move that we accept the bid and Mr. Schneider continues to work on the process.
A second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Tom Kleinhelter, the county sheriff, will be
Sorry, before we move on, again, just looking at it from a timing perspective, this doesn't need to be a land transaction that's overly complicated. I'd also seek approval of the board to take any actions by the board necessary to carry out the closing in advance of potentially of our first January meeting date. Or we can wait until then to sign deeds or anything of that nature. I don't know that there's a benefit.
Are you seeking authority to
Not
sign?
myself, but to present those documents to you guys for signature.
It would probably be in the county's best interest to close if possible. I don't,
Looking at year end is what I'm thinking, if I can get it done.
I mean, the only problem would be having the title work done in the next 7 days, right? Or would you don't do title work, do you? I would think you would be the one that does that. For the county's benefit, it's probably best that it would be done by the end of the year and transferred so they can be assessed in the new owner's name for January.
In my discussions with him, he may or may just require a deed simply, and that will be that, without title work on his end, I'm not sure, but I will check with him.
That wouldn't be a problem on our side. It's not our risk then. So,
Who was the one on the bid?
Terrence Kleinhelter.
Terrence and Janet Kleinhelter, they also included
Terrence and who, Jane?
Janet.
I'm fine with it. I mean,
Yeah,
this could be a very
whatever,
simple
however you
transaction.
can expedite it.
So we'll give Mr. Schneier authority to act on our behalf and present documents to us to expedite the transfer of the property.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just. So,
Okay, I'll put that in the form of a motion, just so we have it on the record that the board gives authority to Mr. Schneier to take actions necessary to expedite the process of transferring this property by deed to Mr. Kleinhelter. Any documents that need to be signed by us, we can sign outside of the meeting. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Schneier?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sandy, where are these surplus items from? Just various office, oh, there they are. Don't look up and do
we
that now.
just replaced all these. They had one that was from the highway, and we had, one of these was good, so we switched it with the
Mhm.
recorder's public access. And then there's one other good one that I'm keeping just in case we need a Windows 10 spare.
Okay, so gentlemen, we have in front of us a list of surplus items, this being what appears to be 11 HP Pro desktop and one monitor and one laptop. I'll pass this over. They're in Windows 7, they're old, they've been replaced. The machines have been wiped.
Did you get one of those?
Yes.
Anybody have any concerns or questions with declaring these surplus?
No.
Okay, I'll move that we declare the item surplus as listed.
So,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
What were those items from?
Prosecutor, one from the highway and one from,
Various departments.
well, most of them are from prosecutor.
10 from the prosecutor's office, 1 for the recorder, 1 small claims, and 1 highway.
The monitor died. Small claims.
Okay, we've got just a few minutes until we talk with the sheriff here. The first thing I'd like to do is recognize Candy Neal. She was a longtime reporter who covered our meetings, and she has been selected as the new grant coordinator for the DuBois County Cares locally. So I want to thank her for all her years serving the community in that capacity with the Herald, and she always did a great job, so I appreciate her being here. Good luck with her new venture. She felt, at one time, she felt like part of the team because she was here every week, and then COVID, she kept away, but
She was, and an excellent part of the team, and I think did an excellent job in reporting, and I always said many times, made me sound intelligent. when that was difficult to do.
No small feat with this board. So, yeah, Candy Neal, congratulations on your new position and thank you for your work. The Commissioner Brahmas, the health award being granted, and the next steps, we're hiring the community coordinator. I think you've got that in your bag, right? You're working.
It's in my to-do list, yes.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything on it since the last meeting. My first step will be to get with Marky and start to research and get with the health, the lady from Florida, and talk to her.
Andrea Kerner.
Yeah, and, but I haven't done anything on it yet.
Okay. Regarding the flexibility law that we talked about previously with the American Rescue Plan Act, it still hasn't gone anywhere. I think,
And why not? Do you know what the holdup is? Is there a debate on it? Is it just lying there?
I don't think, from what I've read, there are a number of co-sponsors, that means people in the House they're signed on saying it's okay, they just haven't done the formal, they haven't gone through the procedure. I really wish they would, because it would just make things a lot less complicated. At our last meeting, Commissioner Brahms, we examined our recommendations from the committee, and we went through them, and I think we were all thinking, it sounds like a good process. And then you asked about the fire district, and I want to wait for Mr. Schneider to be back as
I did, and the answer we got was the exact question that I was asking. It was not whether or not we could pass money through. I think we all agree we can do that. Pass money, ARP money that we control to another quasi-governmental or public agency. We can do that, but then they have to abide by the same standards or the same requirements on how they spend the money as what we do. Otherwise, we're the ones responsible for that.
So we can't bypass any of the rules by giving it to another entity. So the first email, Mr. Schneider's not here, the first email response he sent was, that sounds like it would work. And then the next two, I think, made it sound like what you just said.
I think the first email was answering the wrong questions.
Can you pass the money through? Yes.
Can we pass the money through? Yes. The second email then addressed whether or not they had to, whether it had to be a qualifying expense or qualifying project. It does have to be whether they're doing it or whether we do it.
So I don't know where we are with that. What does this board think as far as how do we proceed? So I believe 2 weeks ago, I think we said, let's sit on it, let's see. Basically, let's let it settle for a moment. And should we start approving for disbursement any of the funds for Potoco Lake, St. Anthony, any of these? Should we make? Are we comfortable as a board moving forward with those, or should we hold on all of them? What's everybody thinking?
I would be comfortable with the two that you just mentioned in that I believe that they are allowable,
That's St. Anthony's Toka.
because they are utilities. And that appears to be an allowable place to use the ARP funds for infrastructure, utility infrastructure.
Thus far, we have approved the universal design plan for the auditor's office and treasurer's office. We've approved the hotspots and the Baker Tilly spending. Du Bois Park, we approved, but that's another one of those where without the flexibility, at this point, we can't do anything with them. We can't make those.
And currently that will be taken out of edit unless
I believe
we get some change in that.
I believe the council would prefer it to be ARP money. Am I correct?
That's what we kind of voted on, I made a motion to, that we did approve the extra funds.
So if, we've approved the broadband make ready, so that's done. So really, I guess at this point, we could move forward with St. Anthony Water renovation of water tanks at $181,000. $100,000 for the sludge drying beds for Toba Lake Regional Water and Sewer and the DuBois Sewer project lining the town there. 200,000 is what was suggested by the American Rescue Plan Committee. So those are, I guess, 3 items on our list that we could approve today if the board is inclined to do that.
What would that leave us remaining?
Well,
The the reason I asked, I know the sewer project, we're gonna need probably at a minimum $4 million to get a matching grant. Probably more in the line of $5 million. And I don't know if all that needs to come from ARP or we can do something at it or how that might go through the council. But if we can't get that, then it's a pretty much dead project.
Mhm.
And I don't want that to happen because I don't think anybody in the county should have to live the way some of these people do now. So that would be my only reservation about approving all of these.
So if we, if everything was spent at 100% the way it is, that would only be $1,653,000 and change for the sewer district. That being said, the Barnes and Thornburg 20,000 isn't approved. The audit that we have 100,000 back for may or may not cost that much. The Okra Help Grant, as I mentioned previously, I would like to push that funding to go to help that project. There's $2.5 million there. And
Plus an additional million.
plus that additional $1 million right from,
Well, and if we still have the 1.6 left after we approve others, that would get us in that $4 to $5 million range to get grants that I think very well could be available for us.
sure. And we also have $250,000 in there as a contingency. So that's another amount of money. So to your point,
I think we could pursue other revenues for grants as well.
Right. Well, there's a
outside
SWIFT
of
grant. I think it was the SWIFT grant that we were a little premature on the first time, but indications come back that we look really good the second round. But we have to have that $4 to $5 million match in order to get it.
And I don't know how soon and in what way the infrastructure money will filter down to us, but there are possibly some resources there.
so I guess what I would think is, with the health portion of this, we're putting in $2.5 million. The extra $1 million from a grant for just participating in it, and the city of Jasper putting their money in. So if the city of Jasper, if we use their funds for projects and use all of this money for the sewer, I just think we have a possibility of having the funds that you're talking about there. But they'll have to be determined, but I think it's definitely a priority. And these amounts that we would be approving today for Patoka and for these other ones is 481,000.
My only question, and in this case here, I fully expect if we question Baker Tilly on whether these are acceptable projects, they would say yes. But should we do that? Should we have an opinion? Maybe that's a question for Mr. Snarer. I don't know. Would it be advisable to have an opinion from Baker Tilly or even Barnes Thornburg if we feel like it needs to go there? But even though I'm convinced that these would be acceptable projects.
Again, always having something to back up our opinion would help us in the event somebody calls it to question. And this is just with regards to
Water utilities.
which is again listed. I would think that it would be as well, but I can look into that if you guys would like.
Maybe, take the drying beds, for example. Is that a water utility or is that a construction cost or
Oh, a new build type thing?
new builds? Yeah, I don't know. But it's more directly related to utility than what the fire station was. But
I can look into it and then determine if I would want to seek that outside opinion as well.
okay.
Okay, so we'll take no action here. We'll get a final opinion from from them, and because it's only 12 days away for our next meeting, 14 days, so it's not, we're not too far out from it. I don't think we give them the money today, or we give it to them in 2 weeks. I don't think it changes anything over Christmas and New Year, so.
I don't think there's an end of the year.
Nope.
End of the year point to that.
And then that's essentially the rest of the meeting. Sheriff Kleinhelter? Come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're gonna talk about automobiles.
Okay,
What are you doing? What's up with your, where are we at now? Did you get 2 new automobiles recently, or where?
not that we hadn't discussed.
So,
Yeah, I watched the November 1st meeting again to make sure I did discuss the 2 that we purchased, and we did. And that was it.
why are we on the agenda again? I don't remember.
I got an email from the auditor that said, I was asked to have you come to the commissioners meeting on December 20th to talk about the 2 new vehicles that were claims were submitted for payment. I have no idea.
Okay.
I think probably, I may have had something to do with that, and I know that we discussed the 2 vehicles back then, but I still wasn't quite sure, and I know that as we move into 2022, the process is going to change a little bit in as far as the budgeting is concerned. Prior to this, you submitted in your budget the vehicles that would be anticipated for that year. And now in 2022, you're going to do that individually, as I understand. You're going to request the funding for those vehicles individually as they come up. I would be interested in, and I think we touched on this a little bit in November, but maybe kind of reiterate a little bit what our procedure is for trading vehicles. When do we, and I know that one of those, for example, was a replacement of a demolished vehicle. So that's kind of, I understand that. The rest of it, when do we decide that a vehicle is to be retired or to be traded?
When we determine that it's costly to keep it for maintenance repairs.
Okay, so is there a mileage number, or is it more of a?
Not necessarily. Some cars are better than others, you know that. So we kind of just look at how much we spent on that car that year. Like the one that we traded in, we knew that there was a transmission issue with it. We opted not to get that fixed, and we traded it in instead of doing that because that was like, we had just replaced, it was just getting costly. But then we also look at the determination that we have 22 vehicles, and if you don't have some type of a rotation, it's going to put you in this bind that we were just in, where we had to buy 7 or 8 vehicles in 1 year, and that's very costly. So there's a. We got together and we looked at it with my team as like, who gets what vehicles, some officers patrol more than others, so you kind of gain those mileage. So when we did have to put 8 vehicles on there to get back to where we are now, we looked at it as probably more or less a 5-year rotation, so that there is a 3 and 4 year or a 3 and 4 vehicle per year cost, instead of 1 year you're not buying any, but the next year you're buying 7 or 8. And that's just a lot of time. It takes time to get a vehicle on the road also. So by the time.
Because of outfitting it.
By outfitting it, yeah. You know, that can be up to a month to get 1 car outfitted.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of look at, there's a lot of things that are looked at.
Okay. These vehicles are the property of the county. And we are the managers, commissioners are the managers of that property. In other words, they belong to the county in that respect. So I guess what I'm looking for is a little bit more transparency and, or coming to us and saying, we need to replace this vehicle because it is, this is our rotation policy and these are the expenses that we've had on it. And letting us know that as far as moving forward. Now, with the new process with the council, with seeking funding for each vehicle as it comes up throughout the year, will that be an automatic process? Will it be brought to us first and then to the council that this vehicle?
However you want it, I would assume so.
Replaced? That would be my preference. I don't know how the other commissioners feel.
I mean, as we move forward, I would venture to say that at the beginning of the year, we're gonna know what vehicles we're going to try to replace that year, just to stay on somewhat of a pattern. Again, I don't wanna get into that part where myself or the next sheriff comes in and has to do 7 or 8 vehicles in a year.
Right.
So I don't wanna say what we're going to trade, because if I come in here and look at, we wanna do 3 vehicles this year, but then in March, one of the vehicles that we were gonna trade is, we have a worse one that needs to be traded. So it's
Or one.
one that's, the
Well,
one that gets totaled. Well, them are gonna be different. because
that's not really,
Yeah.
I don't view that necessarily as a trade. That's
that's
insurance
replacement.
replacement and that sort of thing, yeah. So,
Um,
but what you're saying is, you might identify one that needs to be traded, and then all of a sudden circumstances,
Yeah.
bring another one to,
That maybe we can get by with one for another year and make that one next year, because we have one that's costing us more, or we determine that, you got a vehicle that's got 110,000 miles on it, and you know that the engine, whatever, needs to be replaced. Well, we don't want to spend $7,000 or $8,000 on a vehicle that has that many miles on it.
so my preference would be that, in the beginning of the year, if you come in the beginning of the year and say, this vehicle, and this vehicle need to be replaced this year, that's the plan. And we approve that, we agree with that and we approve that, but then come June, something changes, maybe we need to come back and be, made aware of that.
Okay.
And change
What's going to be
what's
traded
going to
in?
be traded, what we approve,
Commissioner Brown, it sounds like you kind of want what the ambulance does, what
what the
highway
highway department
does,
does.
what the auditor even does with computers. The plan is to change these 10 this year, and then when you come to that year, if, those are still working fine, then you're still fluid. And I think that's what the sheriff needs, and we should do. You don't want to trade 5 cars just because they're on the list. You want to trade your worst 5.
Correct.
But if it's been 5 years, then that's probably
Yeah.
going to qualify on that list a lot of times. So yeah, I think it would be neat if we had, like the others do, we have an inventory. Year 1, we're replacing these 5. Year 2, these 4. Year 3. Is that what you're saying? And then at least we have a starting point.
And,
Yeah.
and it,
And if something
and
changes,
maybe, I might even question, is it necessary? I guess what I'm saying is that we don't necessarily replace 3 a year just because we replace 3 a year. Those 3 need to be replaced, that year. For whatever, whether it's mileage, whether it's, repair expenses and that sort of thing that have been identified to make that recommendation that we replace these 3 vehicles. I agree with you. You don't want to replace them all in 1 year. You don't want to get into that situation. But that can vary from 1 year to the next, whether or not we need to replace 3 vehicles or 4 vehicles or whatever it is, depending upon, like I said, repair costs and mileage and that sort of thing that the vehicle shows. We don't want to necessarily be replacing vehicles that don't need to be replaced.
I don't think we ever replace a vehicle that doesn't need to be replaced.
No, I'm not saying that we do, but I'm just saying whatever the policy is, that's clear, that it's based on need.
Correct. I think it always has been.
Okay. And then another question I had, and I know that there are standards that the sheriff, the state dictates as to what type of vehicle.
No, not standards, but there is a state bid.
A state bid, okay. Okay. So So when we determine we need a new vehicle, that's put out there and.
Well, the state, which is the state police, puts a spec out to all of the dealerships on what they want their cars to be.
Okay,
And obviously it's a state, so the state is awarded that contract. And it's this year, and the last several years, it has been with Chrysler, which is the Dodge Durangos, the Dodge Chargers, or the Dodge trucks. So any other vehicle that you buy, that is not a Chrysler product, you're not getting the full state discount.
okay.
They negotiate a bid for the whole state so that you get the cheapest pricing.
Right,
So if the sheriff said, I want a Ford F-150, he'll have to bid that separately.
correct.
And
And you get a discount, but it's not what the state, you're not getting this.
And so where does that vehicle come from? Does it come from a local Chrysler dealer, or does it come through there, or does it come?
They can. They can,
It depends on the bid, does it not?
depending on the business, yeah. Normally, like I stated the last meeting, I went through Sternberg's here locally, Washington Chrysler, and then we just recently started going through John Jones, because John Jones is a police outfitting cars, and they have the cars right now.
Okay.
John Jones actually has a lot, but it's nothing
Yeah.
but.
Nothing but.
And they're located,
They're in Salem.
Salem, okay. Okay.
But like the last, I mean, not that we did, but if we ordered one through Washington Chrysler or Sternberg's right now, you have no idea when it's coming in. I mean, it could be 6 months, it could be 3 months, it could be next year. We don't know. But like with Washington or with John Jones, they will tell you what's on their lot, and they have police vehicles on their lot. So you kind of pick from what's there.
Commissioner Bronis, is there a concern with the vehicles that have been selected?
Not necessarily, I just don't know much about it.
Okay.
And I know that you were here in November, but I still wasn't very clear as to what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I think the coming, the changes that have been made, changes that the council made, and if we can be the first step before you go to the council, then I think moving forward, that's what I would like to see.
I have no issue with that. Do you have an issue with that, Sheriff?
No,
Sounds
not at
like
all.
a decent process to you that, so basically, in January, he'll say, this is what's on our rotation schedule. Throughout the year, we will make determinations based on this as a starting point of what we will change, what we won't change for the year. Is that kind of?
Yeah, and just the practical part of it, when somebody says the sheriff's department bought 2 new vehicles or 5 new vehicles or whatever, I want to be able to point back and say, we had that discussion and this is what we were informed of and
If you don't feel I did that in November, I apologize for that, but I thought it was pretty clear that we were getting 2 vehicles in November,
I understand that, yes, I understand
and
that.
I'm always available for a phone call.
But I think in transparency in a public meeting, to bring it forth in the public meeting, I think is best.
And I thought it was,
That particular one, that November one.
yeah.
That's the latest one, yes. Okay.
So those last 2 vehicles, are you having wait times on those, or did you get them?
We had the one already, and at November, we had it. We actually thought it was paid for. It was submitted, but for some reason, it did not get paid for until after. When we got the word that the other one was completely totaled, when we ordered that one, then he asked us, he goes, are you gonna pay for the other one that you had? And that's why there was 2 claims,
Got it.
so.
Anything else you want to report to us, Sheriff, about anything?
Nope, I think we're good.
The building, everything
Yep, everything's going well.
going well.
Making a lot of progress.
I know we talked,
Getting the roof on a little bit, or starting to put the roof on, so.
I know we talked a little bit the other day and some of the issues that they had are being resolved, like the shower
Yeah.
issue and that sort of thing, so.
Should be getting cells in a couple weeks.
Commissioner
Well, I
Costa?
appreciate you coming in and look forward to the discussion after the first of the year when these types of things come forward.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Sir. All right, next up, the Du Bois County Substance Abuse Council. Looks like we've got a good crew here.
We have a great crew here. Good morning, guys.
I
Good
did.
morning.
I've got with me, I think you know Terry Tanner, our treasurer, and Jenny Lampert, who represents the judicial on our executive council, Nancy Eckerly, who represents business, and I'd like to introduce you to Brooke Lambert. She is our new coordinator, and she started in August, and we're thrilled to have her here with us. So I've got for you a little packet that includes our comprehensive plan that we have to submit to Indiana Criminal Justice Institute by the end of March every year. That was approved by them in June, so you'll see the approval letter there too. But I think what you most want to see is the top letter. That's where we spent the money this year. So as you can see, we spent every penny that we had in the 3 categories for grants. Didn't leave anything on the table. We will have about $2,000 left over in our discretionary fund, which will carry over for next year. The reason that we're here today is this is our annual request for permission to draw down all the funds that have been collected in 2021. Not all of the, as I understand it, not all of the funds for 2021 have yet hit the county's books yet, but we should know that final number, I'm hoping sometime in January. So we don't know exactly how much that's going to be. We think it'll be right around 35,000, but that's a guess on my part.
You said 33?
35,
35.
but that's a guess. Could be higher, could be lower.
Do you have a?
As soon as we close the books, which will be hopefully December 31st before we leave, but then we have to balance with the treasurer, so it may take a day or two
Yeah,
in January. But I know we have to advertise for you all by January 7th for the next round. So we're under a crunch to get that all done in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So we'll have it.
Has it been the tradition that we kind of look at what's in the fund and we take out 100% of it to the nearest dollar or
Yes.
nearest,
We do it all.
even every penny?
every-
Okay.
Now,
I didn't
we do
recall if we
encumber her salary, what we have not paid her, so we'll need to know that
Mhm.
to pay her in January. So that's the only thing deducted.
I understand that she's submitting that today or is already submitting.
So you won't work at all anymore?
Between now and January, if I mean, it'll be volunteer.
No, we can't do that. And get paid.
The answer
So
is
see,
no.
that's the answer that, we'll need to know those hours for the rest of December. Because we'll encumber that into January, because that'll be on that next paycheck.
Well, then she'll need to update it to include the time right now,
Correct,
so.
right. So
That'll be
that's
another 30
that'll be
minutes
the
or
factor that we need to
When
know
do you need that by?
right away in January, because it'll be on that January paycheck. You'll turn in,
I'll turn it in before
yeah,
January.
and then we'll know what that amount is. That's the only thing deducted is that in the benefits. That's
Do
encumbered
you have a
till this year.
printed one of that? No, okay. So I was
Yeah.
gonna just.
I work with, we work with Terry on that quite, every year to get that. And then we take the total amount you have left, advertise that, divided by 4, your
Correct,
funding streams. And
which is what Indiana Criminal Justice Institute requires of us, that we divide the money equally. So if we could have, for math's sake, because I am no mathematician, let's say we have $36,000 even, then every category would have $9,000 in it to be spent.
And the first one, we divided into her salary and her benefits.
Right, so the discretionary is primarily to pay for our coordinator. We have a few printing costs, a few little things like that, but mostly it goes for our coordinator for the year.
So I guess what the county could do is one of 2 things. We can approve the money and they can use it, or we don't approve the money and it just sits there. They're the only people they're the only organization, for lack of a better term, that can use the funds. These are funds that have come from people that have committed a crime of some sort that have to do with substance issues, and a percentage of their fees goes to this fund
Correct.
to help combat substance use issues.
Right.
So generally, not generally, every year that I know of, the funds have
Every year
been
that I've been
released.
involved.
Yeah, you've been involved a while,
For about 20 years.
and so I'd be okay to move that we allow the Substance Abuse Council to take a full draw of their fund for use in 2022.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion?
No.
Is there anything that we need to add to the motion for your sake?
We'll be going before the county council January 24th.
So our motion is just to support that moving forward, so. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
You want to report on anything else? You've got the floor.
I do have the floor. Well, as you know, I'm retiring. I'm stepping down from the council. I may serve in some capacity, but not as not as the chair anymore. I'm going to be traveling with my husband, and it has been a huge honor of my life to be a part of this group. And I've been a part of this group, I believe, since 1998. I took a little sabbatical of about 14 months, 6 or 7 years ago.
And the operation just fell apart. So she was begged back. And it barely recovered, but it did.
It's doing great. It's doing really great. And I'm excited about where it's going. And I think Brooke is going to be a great partner in moving this council forward. So, and I also want to thank you on behalf of the council and myself for approving the funds that we incurred in September when we were doing the grant request.
Yes, sure,
So we appreciate that. And we are aware that that is a one-time deal.
sure.
Well, I'll reiterate too, and thank you for that, for the years of your leadership there and your continued, I'm sure you'll be called on in an advisory capacity.
I would
in the future,
welcome that.
And I hope your travels, I hope the virus allows you to get out there and do
Me
that.
too.
travel.
We're finally all vaccinated and, so yeah, we're planning to do a lot of travel. We had planned to do travel this past year, but COVID put it
Mhm.
to that. But we're now, my husband is not going to be teaching at the university level. You don't know that, but he's been teaching part-time. He's not going to do that anymore. We're going to be grandma and grandpa is the only title I really want in my life, to be honest. So, but the council is doing really great things. We've been growing in our membership for it. We're hoping that we will have a law enforcement representative on the council. We've been in a little bit of talks with somebody, and we're hoping for that to happen. But I think the council is doing really great shape and doing good work in the community.
Were you satisfied this year with the grant applications you received, or are they down? Are you looking for
Oh my
something
gosh, they were
different?
up.
They were up.
Yeah, we had grant requests that I think totaled like $56,000, and we only had like, what, 25,000 to spend? So it was a really tough day for decisions, when you've got that kind of request and you don't begin to have the need. We had far more grant applications this year than what I believe we've ever had in the past. And there were some that we had to it's a great project, but it doesn't fit in our mission as well as some of these others, and so we can't fund you because we don't have the money for it. So, I don't know if that's kind of a mixed blessing that there are so many things wanting to be happening in our community to fight substance abuse, but we didn't have the funds to pay for it. But I appreciate that this community really comes together. We've got some people on our council now who live and work in Evansville, and they are always impressed by how well this county works together. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, whether it's preparedness or response or whatever it is, this county comes together and works outside of our silos. We come together and work well in this county, and I'm blessed to be a part of this county. So, and I think that leadership trickles down, we all work together. You guys have certainly been very supportive of me over the years and whatever I was doing with council and other things, so I appreciate it all very much. Is there anything that I'm overlooking that we should mention since we got the floor?
I was only gonna just mention you, Deb, and your leadership, and thank you for your leadership for all these years.
Well, it really has been my honor, it really has. I'm looking forward to hitting the road. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.
Anybody need a restroom break?
Not right now.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and move into the next agenda item, which would be the Veterans Service Courthouse Monument Endowment discussion. So I think I've stated this to both of you by email, but we might as well do it publicly, that a local individual, DuBois County resident, William Rudolph Jr. From Ireland, he passed back in October 25th of 2005. I believe a year prior to that, Mr. Rudolph set up an endowment with the DuBois County Community Foundation. And the purpose of the endowment is twofold. One, to support the monument that's down here, to make sure that it is maintained, taken care of. That was part one, and then part two was to support Veteran Service Officer and Veteran Service Office of DuBois County. Because the county has not been receiving funds since the endowment was created, there is a surplus within that budget now, and so the county will be receiving a lump sum amount, which is a good thing. It's a little bit of a windfall for those projects. I don't know if we need to get into the dollar figures, but it's, let's just say it's $100,000 to go to the monument. So it's a substantial gift that Mr. Rudolph, who's a World War II veteran, I believe he retired as a staff sergeant, Purple Heart, Bronze Star. I mean, a real local hero. He also served as a postmaster in Ireland for some years, was in agriculture as well. But it's just a big gift that he left, and it's going to support the county for a long time. I guess in perpetuity, actually. So it puts us in a good position that we now have funding to do some of the things that Mr. Wendell was talking about earlier, to pay for upgrade, I don't know if upgrade is the right word, but maintenance and I guess upgrading the monument downtown, the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. And it gives us also an opportunity to make the determination, do we want to do something different with the Soldiers and Sailors Monument or do anything down here? The one suggestion from our Veteran Service Officer, Mr. Love, is that he could begin a survey with the local veterans and with the local veteran service organizations, the VFW and Norwegian and Disabled American Veterans and all of those, because the last thing I would want to do is anything that would be disrespectful to those that have served our country. So I don't personally want to make any changes without the support of that part of our community. Consultation from them, and I think that a survey from Mr. Love is a fine way to start that, to start getting the conversation started. The way I look at it is, if people are satisfied with the way it is, then we make it the very best looking that it can be as it is. If people think that it's an opportunity for us to do something different, then I'm happy for that. And the way I want to look at it is that it's not I don't think we're taking anything away with the things that he's put forth so far. He's had some ideas here. I don't know if both of you seen this. He has some ideas that he started, and it's not that we're taking away anything. Like, let's say we did remove those guns. It wouldn't be that we're taking that away. It would be that it would give us an opportunity to honor more veterans, because currently that Soldiers and Sailors, that's two of our branches. This could be an opportunity for us to honor all of the branches of the military. That would be one way of looking at it, that we could have something that not only the Army, the Navy, but the Air Force, the Marines, the everybody gets, to be honored on our downtown courthouse. So I think so I guess what I would like is to have the conversation and discuss with our board if we are okay with Mr. Love starting that conversation and doing some fact finding, some fact gathering information. It sounds like Mr. Wendell would like to have that information as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, now, just to know, the monument and the fence are both on the historical registry.
Right.
So we really cannot mess with the monument, and the fence can be taken down and brought back in the same spot.
Right.
Just keep that in mind, we cannot mess with the facade or anything on that monument. We can rehab it, repair it, but we can't change it, if that makes sense.
Right, but if we,
So,
but
so the space within the fence is what it is, and
Well, we can add things to that, but the physical monument, the actual stones, and the fence are on the historical registry.
not the guns.
Not the guns, correct?
which means that the square footage, I guess is what I'm saying,
Yes,
within the fence is.
Yes, correct, yes,
constant.
correct.
It's constant. Whatever we do, we have to do it within that square footage area.
Yes, correct.
Again, my take on it is that we could do better with the space. But if the community doesn't agree, I think it's fine the way it is, but I think we could do more with the space, honor more people within the same space.
I agree, and I think the survey is a good way to approach that. I was struggling with how to determine, I agree, I think we can do better, we can improve that space. But, my fear was that there was some reason why we need to be consistent with what we've got there that I wasn't seeing. And how do I find out what that reason is? And I can go out and talk to individuals, but those are individual opinions. And then all of a sudden we make a change and then we find out there was some reason that we hadn't looked at. So I think the survey is a good option, give people an opportunity to comment on it. And we can try to find out what the consensus is and then move forward.
Commissioner Hostetter?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the survey. I think it's a good idea. Don't think we should allow it to box us in though. I think this monument's been here since, how old is this monument?
140 years old.
So I guess I'll just share my opinion. I think it would be a good idea to take the guns away and donate them to the museum, for example. They would live a lot longer under the roof of the museum than they will out here in the open, in the weather. And it allows more focus on the monument that's currently there. Whereas if we add additional anything to either side, I think it kind of takes away from the historical integrity of the monument itself, basically what's inside that fence. Not opposed to other monuments on the grounds of the courthouse, but in that area right there, I think it would just be nice to honor that monument, those people, and not necessarily go any farther than that. That's my opinion. That's what I would put if I filled out a survey. I'm not a veteran, so.
It's and it's a good thought. And I don't have, some of the ideas that were thrown around out there were to add some additional monument structures to honor the other branches of the military or the fallen heroes. When I looked at it, I thought, does that really, the idea is good, but does the visible proposal match the historical aspect of the monument? So I think there's some debate there, yes. There's some discussion there that needs to be had. If we do add something to it, we need to make sure that it complements what is already there.
So at a minimum, for the public's knowledge, the stones on the existing monument are being cleaned up, worked on currently. There's other work around the fence and things that's gonna get done either way. This would be for things over and above that. So we are maintaining it with these funds. We are going to make sure that it's here for another 140 years, and this would be if the community has an appetite to do anything different. And I hadn't thought of your point of taking those away maybe and replacing them with nothing. That's an option, or taking them away and replacing them with something that honors more people. I don't know that one answer is better than another, or leaving it the way it is probably isn't bad. I don't know that we have a bad option.
Right, and
So
like I said, it's
we're all
not
okay
changing,
with
it's
the
no skin
survey?
off my back if it's something different, so. But I'd like to just really honor the monument that's there, and, you know, we've got a historical photo here in the room that does not have the guns in it. For example, I think maybe the focus should be on the monument itself.
Question to consider when you're discussing the guns, that what to do with them is whether or not we own them ourselves or whether they still belong to the US government. And they are simply on loan to us. So if we are tasking our veteran service officer with that, I'm happy to express that. He may have already looked into that as well.
Is there a spreadsheet somewhere that'll tell us that, Greg?
Not in my computer, no.
Probably not.
Probably on one of those Windows 7.
I don't know if we have it listed in, would that be an asset? We list in our inventory.
We could look. But also, well, I don't
Two
know.
Would be an asset that the federal government would have listed somewhere.
Correct.
We might have.
Or was
What
it a
year
state owned
do you
document?
think you?
Well, I don't know when those guns were put there. They've been there for 44 years. It's been a lot.
Research this, but you're talking.
Longer, and I'll
Older than
verify
44
that they're
years.
older than that.
Art might have that answer, because he's the one that informed me what happened there.
Hard to far back as we can go.
That's our oldest researcher.
So what I'll do is over the next week, I'll get with Mr. Love, our Veteran Service Officer, ask him to begin his work on the survey and doing some research, and that he can reach out to Mr. Schneider and to Art as resources for some of that. I think that's a fine first step.
Yes.
And if it gets to a point where this work, any updates or changes is going to impede the work that we're doing there, then we'll move forward with the work that has to be done.
I'm not worried about our work, getting the wall done, that's all I can say. I'm more about the revitalization that's gonna go on. If we're gonna try to be messing around with it then too. That's why I'd like to have all ours done before that, just so we don't mess around with them.
But I think we could, we'll need to determine whether or not the guns or cannons, whatever you call them, stay. But if we're going to do something else in that space, that could be done later. I mean, we
Yeah,
talked
we
about
have
a crane
to-
reaching in, they would have to be set in some way with that type of equipment anyway.
So I think that's a good next step. Like I said, we don't want to do anything
So
hastily.
many groups you want to remain.
Sure, if everybody wants it to remain, I don't think this board will have a problem with letting it remain as is either. So there are a couple other things that Mr. Love was talking about. I don't know if he gave us a list to you, but some other ideas, as we said. With an endowment, not only are we gonna get this windfall this first time, we'll get a small amount each year to keep the monument up and to support the Veteran Service Office. And he has some ideas for some things that he could use the funds for. He could use better, so upgraded computer screens and some of the people that drive our disabled American veterans vans, we could maybe get them some shirts with the DAV logo on them for their time. And also in January, he's gonna be coming into us to talk about how his job and how that office has been operating since he's been in there. He's only been in there, I believe, since, September? August, September, somewhere in there. So he's only been in there a short amount of time, and he'll give us a report and talk about personnel issues. So I think that's really about it. Anything else with Veteran Service? Or do you have any questions for me? Because I have been attending the meetings and things with the Community Foundation. I don't know if you have any more questions.
No, I don't agree. The information you sent us last week or whatever it was helpful.
Again, it's a great gift from a local hero, so we appreciate that. 1010 is a charter communication discussion. So charter communication, as we've talked about before, they are they're bidding on some locations for expanded broadband in DuBois County, as is Harry Spencer Communications and Orange County Fiber and one other entity. They were asking for they want us to support their application by either funding them or for sending them a letter, giving them a letter of support. On the funding end of it, I said that I'm 1/3 of the vote, but I don't know that there's an appetite for us to give any more money for these kind of activities. I said, but you're welcome to call in today and ask and talk to the Board of Commissioners about it. She said that she would, I guess, would rather spend her time doing something else, that she didn't feel like a call coming in was necessary, but she would still support, or would like a letter of support from the commissioners if we want to do that. That being said, I believe later in the meeting, we have a letter from that PSC that we've signed one like this before, supporting their application. So we did sign one, it looks like the county council has signed one on December 13th, saying that we're writing this letter on behalf of PSC and we support their broadband application. So I guess the actions we can take is, one, we can just support PSC as a more local provider, or we could say we'll support PSC and we'll send a letter for Charter Communication as well. I don't feel too strongly one either way.
They're not really in competition, are they, for the same service areas, or
They would be,
would they?
potentially. I didn't overlay which ones each of them are bidding on, which addresses, but I know there is some overlap. So they would be bidding on some of the same properties. So I don't remember the number, but let's say there's 1,000 addresses that Charter is trying to get. Several hundred of those would also be other providers will also be trying to get those same addresses through this grant funding. And why are they asking us for this? It's because they are on a point schedule with the state of Indiana with Okra that if they have a letter of support from a community, they get an additional point or they get additional something on their application. And this isn't a new ground that we're breaking. We did support PSC's application for round 2 of this Next Level Connections, and this is round 3. So we have to decide, 1, are we going to sign for PSC to support them again? And 2, Charter has also asked for something similar. So it's up to us if we want to sign both, either or neither.
I don't see any reason not to sign both. Competition might be a good thing to spur the growth.
And that's kind of where I start. Then I think, well, the other 2 that we're working directly with Du Bois RAC are more local companies, but I don't know how I judge which would, if this resident out there or this location gets served by one or the other of them, which one's going to give them the best service. There are minimum standards that they have to achieve. So, yeah. Unless convinced otherwise, for some reason, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't support whoever is wanting to provide the service.
Spectrum is already serving residents of Du Bois County. They have some locations in Celestine, St. Anthony, over on that block, that area. And there's more that they are going to be serving, that they have planned to serve. So they do have a presence here. They have had a presence here. I've never heard any
And
complaints.
this is, Charter is.
Yes, Spectrum is the internet arm of Charter. So here's how I guess I would proceed. If they provide me a letter that they want me to sign, we will consider it. It has to be in like in the next 25 days or something. So I'll tell them that we are open to it and that we're also signing one for PSC. And if they want to provide a letter, we can examine it and see if we want to sign it. But it sounds like there's probably no opposition to signing it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
because I don't wanna type up the letter. Sure, if they wanna do that work. Good enough? Okay, so on this one though, while we do have it in front of us, I'll move that we sign the agreement with PSC that will go to Okra for Next Level Connections 3 broadband grant program as a letter of support.
A letter of support, not as an agreement.
It's not an agreement.
Not an agreement,
Okay. Letter of support.
letter of support, okay.
We agree to a letter of support.
There you go.
So I'll move that we do that.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Sometimes what we mean and what we say can be a little different. I was at a meeting last week, Du Bois Strong meeting where Mr. Henson was reporting on what the agreement that was signed with them in Orange County and so forth. He made the statement that of our 2.5 million, I guess, and I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit here, but that 2 million would be going to Orange County Fiber and 0.5 million to PSC. And I said, wait a minute. No, I thought it was all going to you, you know? Well, then we clarified what he meant by that. 2 million would be going to prepare for Orange County Fiber rollout.
That's right.
And the other going for PSC. It's all going to Du Bois REC.
Okay. I think I'm gonna use the restroom and then we'll get back on the agenda. I'll take care of it.
Yes, he was too. I don't even know where I got this. So
Just send out the PSC.
I'm gonna have to search it right now. Yeah, I remember we made this.
Right, I changed it and edited it.
I don't really know who the contact was, but I can call Terry.
It was created and amended this, your request.
Hey, did you get a hold of, Dwayne?
Yes, we appointed him this morning.
Awesome. There just wasn't a whole lot of interest there. Well,
And even he was like, if you can't find anybody else, I'll do it.
yeah,
I'm like, well, we can.
I called that other girl that, thought might be interested, and she gave me his name. And I know Dwayne real well. He's a good guy. Okay. So I think he was on some other boards and then, he was what, do this, do this.
So this Elizabeth James, I guess I need to contact her and get us a letter if you want it signed,
So.
or we just have to ask him.
I can't make nice pictures like for that concrete board, like a couple weeks ago.
They may have, that's where they go.
$61 or something.
That's where they go.
Okay, we paid the claim, I was like, yeah, I guess they probably bought it in preparation to do it.
Yeah, they needed expansion foam,
Yeah.
expansion material and, some pins in the concrete. I thought we had some stuff. Yeah, it was probably Myers. It may have been on 60.
I was just making sure that it was for us.
Yeah.
I'm putting the tone down now so I can go back and listen to it, it's easier.
They probably.
Okay, this was our support for charter, are you gonna contact Elizabeth or do I need to do something?
They should board at 11. We're hoping that it'll be warm enough to
So
start.
if she presents you a letter, then you're gonna sign it.
I'll present it to the board.
We got to add it. I think it'll cure out. I think once it gets going, it'll take over. It'll be fine. It won't freeze on, especially having an audience.
So,
I mean, short of them being.
Somebody that's sitting
Why
up here.
do it?
so they heard we gave them one, now they're all coming in and on the money.
It
Could be, but we
They asked me.
Right.
Well, because when she went on, then she didn't get on it.
So Jason said, as
I
many
think her
people
job
are
is
moving
over
as
this
don't have.
intellect,
They go out.
experience, or,
It's kind of- Yeah.
collect money and.
I would say that.
and other applications. I think when part of that goes away, they do a good job.
Yeah.
She goes on to the next one. All right, we'll get back to order here. Next up is, Mr. Sean Warner with the Health Department, or Mr. Schneider, I guess, actually, with the COVID test site first.
Yes, their city had approached us, utility costs over the past year. Original lease didn't include propane costs. They were seeking to increase the rent. Talked to the health department, they're able to come up with that additional amount. Therefore, we're doing a new lease starting January the 1st, which encompasses that. It's a monthly increase of $150 per month. And Sean has assured me that he has those funds available if we can approve this agreement today.
So do we have the lease in front of us?
I believe I said it right there next to those
Okay.
pieces.
It could be this one.
I think it says lease on there.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
New glasses.
They work well.
Time to get a refund. Okay. And
All of
is that the other term, only term?
The only term that changed was the year, and the dollar amount.
Yeah, the only thing I seen on there was you had January 2021.
Sandy fixed that.
Okay, I was gonna say, should be 2022.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I saw that should be corrected.
And I did reach out to them, they were, Maryland wasn't in there, so I put that in.
So as soon as you guys approve it, the claim is at Stacy's desk and she's waiting to up the amount. Like I said, I wasn't gonna pay extra until they got the lease agreement signed.
But it's for January, so.
She's waiting to pay January until this is signed.
Any questions, comments, concerns from the board? No. Again, I appreciate the city of Jasper being a good partner on this one. This is helpful to the community and helpful to the health department. I'll move that we approve the lease agreement between the city of Jasper and Du Bois County for the real estate formerly known as the Rexford Golf Course.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries, and there's a place for just my signature and for the auditor, so I think we are in good shape with that.
Anything, Sean, anything, updates on testing or vaccinations or anything like that? I don't suppose you're using a canopy this.
Oh, yeah, we're still
You're
using
still
it.
using it regularly?
Oh, yeah, every day. Yeah, 8:30 to 11 and 1 to 3:30 is open.
Okay.
We put up some vinyl walls and then put a heater in there. So we've been maintaining them working outside, so it's just, everybody out of the office and get them through much quicker. That one day we did,
Can you approach?
close to 340 in one day, so there's no possible way to do that
These
inside.
are vaccinations?
Boosters and
No
vaccinations.
boosters and vaccinations.
Yes, yeah, the testing all happens at the grocery site, we don't do any testing at the health department.
Right.
But, we were able to, there was about a week period, we were, shut down on rapids, because we couldn't get supplies from the state. We were able to get a small shipment, we had to kind of pivot the requirement of who could get it to try to maintain rapids at the site, so if you're symptomatic for COVID, that's really right now who's we're focusing the rapids on, because those are the individuals that need testing the most. So that's kind of where we're at. We're hoping that the supply increases and we can open it back up, but I'm not sure that's going to happen with the Omicron variant and all the other, places that need testing. It doesn't look like we're going to get much more supply than maybe a shipment every month. And that's going to be if we even keep stock. So that's kind of why I sent that press release out. And you have to have an appointment now. So if you don't have an appointment, you can't get a rapid, unfortunately.
Okay.
And they're going to set the appointments by the number of rapids they have. So if you can't get an appointment, we're either out or there's no more that day.
They're scheduled or booked.
Yes, yeah. I think you limited it to 50 a day, which that's probably close to what they were doing on symptomatic people. They were doing 70, 80 to 100 individuals, but a lot of those were, just wanting to know, or they were traveling.
Yeah.
So you may have to go elsewhere or get a PCR. We'll still offer those every day. So PCRs, generally, 2 to 3 day turnaround.
And on the PCR, can they walk in for that?
We would prefer they have an appointment just because the demand is so high that, you have 10 or 15 walk-ins at one time.
Yeah.
They'll be waiting a while, and we don't want all those, sick individuals with healthy individuals mixing. So they try to, keep them on appointment as close as possible.
And for the PCR, they don't necessarily have to have a particular reason.
No, anybody can get tested at any time. It's just a matter of the Rapids is for symptomatic people now. So if somebody just wants to know, they can go get a PCR test if they want. I mean, that's okay. We don't really want you getting tested multiple times a week because it's a little bit of a waste of supplies and our manpower. So,
But if something happens, if you think you had an exposure.
Close
or
contacts,
something,
yes,
close
yes.
contact, Yeah.
If a person wants to test themselves every day, they sell them at CVS, right?
yeah, you can do that. It would get quite expensive, but you could if you can get them. Sometimes they're at low supply too, I believe.
Okay, let's move on to your grant position request.
All right, so the state has opened up another opportunity for funding to try to help us through this situation. So I believe we're going to try to take advantage of it. What I need today is we're going to try to create 2 positions with this funding. It's a 1-year grant, and then hopefully we'll be able to extend it to 2 years. It's kind of a combination of helping the health department with staffing and also helping the schools with any needs that they may have, whether it be vaccinations, reporting, testing, anything like that. Even if they don't have a school nurse for that day, we could send our nurse over there to help them out. So it's kind of a help us and the schools, which I think is a good thing. And then there's a couple deliverables that are involved with it. We have to fill out an assessment, kind of the school's needs and our needs, and make sure everybody's reporting their cases to the state. And I think all of our schools are doing a great job with that. So I'm not sure that really we're going to be able to help them with that a whole lot, but if any of the need arises, we will be there to assist them if they need to. But today I'm asking for you guys to approve a full-time nurse, and you've got the information there in front of you. That would be a PAT 4, and a full-time clerk would be a COMAT 2. The hourly rate and everything is right there for you guys.
COMAT 3 down.
Do what? COMAT 3?
COMAT 3,
That's what I have, isn't it?
Oh, I thought you said 2.
PAT 4.
COMAT 3,
COMAT
PAT 4.
I
I may have said 2.
You're 2?
I think I said 2. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Everything
Smell okay?
I'm falling apart.
Yeah, really. I probably said 2.
Okay.
COMAT 3.
And would this be like an LPN probably for the nurse?
More than likely an RN.
RN?
Yeah.
And you don't think there'll be a problem filling the spots?
I mean, everything's a problem right now, but we'll do our best.
If it's available, at least you have a chance to fill it.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So the grant amount, let me understand this a little better. If we accept, you have a grant in hand for $121,593?
Yeah, it would easily cover that. There's additional funding that if we don't use within 2 years would stay in that fund that we could use for other COVID-related expenses, throughout, the rest of the years to come. It's going to be similar to what they did for us in Ebola. I don't know if you remember that Ebola grant. It was kind of money that they sent to us that didn't have any strings attached, and we just keep it. We're still using that fund to help pay for PRNs when we need to bring them in to help with anything that we need. This one here has a little bit more ties to it. It has to be more COVID related and help with schools. Yes, yes.
What?
It's closely tied to the schools, to help the schools.
Yeah. So there's an assessment that we'll need to do. We have not really dove into that to see what all that's going to take. But these 2 individuals should be in charge of filling that assessment out and helping the schools. If they, for whatever reason, have an outbreak, they need kids tested, they could send these two individuals over there. They could help with vaccinations, they could help with anything school COVID related.
So as far as any additional costs over and above the salary, it can be covered by those other funds, like if you need to give them supplies?
Yes, anything.
Do you get a spot for them, or do you?
That's another problem. I don't have an office for either one of these people, but we'll have to come up with something creative. I mean, we've been doing it all along.
You're not gonna be doing this until the summer, is that correct? Is that what this says it starts?
So it already started July of this year.
Oh, okay.
And the state is 6 months behind getting it to us.
I see.
So starting hopefully, if Sandy can get it approved at the next council meeting on the 29th, I know it's a special meeting, but I'm hoping that she can get this through so we could post this at the beginning of the year, get somebody hired relatively quickly. We can get 6 months out of them. And then if they extend it for another year, we can get a year and a half out of both of these individuals.
So just,
More than likely, both of these will be working in the drive-through, the bubble outside is what we call it. So they technically probably wouldn't need too much of an office, other than when they're working on the assessment and any other deliverables that are included in the grant.
so this grant started in July?
Yeah.
We were granted this, I mean,
They started it in July. It doesn't make sense to me why they would start it in July and first give us the contract here in December, but that's how they work. That's how they roll. I don't know the reason behind it.
but we have received the grant, I mean.
I signed the grant agreement last week.
Yeah.
The funds, if I sign it, the funds are ours, from what my understanding is.
Okay.
We just don't know when.
Yeah, I don't know when I'll get the money. I first received my testing site money like, 3 or 4 months after we were, in the hole big time, until they finally got it to us. But from my understanding, once we signed that contract, they owe us that money.
And the grant amount was,
It's 440.
okay. And this is a new, when
Brand
we
new,
started
yeah.
this discussion, I thought we were talking about a continuing grant.
This is a brand new grant, yeah.
And so that's, these two positions are not continuing, they would be new
They would be new positions for basically a year and a half.
for a year and a half.
Till June 30th, 2023.
As long as
Got
they
it.
give us the extension.
As long as they give us the
I think
extension.
I'm caught up now.
Yeah, as long as they give us the extension, I'm sure they will.
Okay.
Because we're still bringing 2 PRNs and typically 2 clerks in every single day of the week to run the outside drive-through. I'm hoping to use these 2 individuals to try to alleviate some of their pressure, because we have 3 or 4 retired nurses that are getting overworked, and I think they would welcome some time off.
I don't have a problem with it, and if we just say that we would approve the positions for the term of the grant, not to exceed the term of the grant.
Yep.
Anything, Commissioner Hofstadter?
No.
I'll move that we create the full-time nurse and full-time clerk positions.
Oh, this is what I have you.
Do you want, I'll make a motion, then you can take as much time as you need there. For the yearly total for both positions, at least for the next year, to total approximately $121,593.55. And this approval is for the term of the grant and any extensions thereafter.
So,
Give Commissioner Ramos a moment to review.
What amount did you say, 121?
$593.55.
Oh, I see it here now, 440,000. I haven't looked at this yet.
But
Okay.
they also need you to.
I'm good.
The PAC 4 and the COMAC too.
I'm good.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I'll make a motion that I'll have a discussion first. Commissioner Ramos, are you comfortable with those 2 designations for PAC 4 and COMAC 3?
I think so. I mean, I trust that that's consistent with what your other people there are listed as.
All 5 of our nurses are the PAC 4, and and then our clerks are the PAT 3, or the NOMA 3.
It's the position
Okay.
salaries and benefits then.
Okay, so
Monitor that though.
I'll move that the nurse position be created as a PAT 4 and the clerk position be created as a COMA 3.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Anything else you need, Sandy, from the administrator?
I don't know if we're gonna have to be able to, are you gonna monitor that up to that amount?
I said approximately,
Oh, you,
so
okay.
it doesn't have to be exact.
We've got
That's
the
our
rest.
estimate.
If we go over, I mean, that's what it should be.
If we approve the hourly rate,
Yeah,
of course, are we looking at 35 hours? Is that what it's based on?
yeah. Should be the same as everybody else.
So unless, well, and if it goes over 35, that's comp time, that's not increase in numbers.
Yes.
You don't pay overtime, in other words.
So we pay all COVID time out and comp time goes to, health comp time goes to their comp time.
Well, if you're gonna pay COVID time out with these, they're gonna go over that.
Then we would use the COVID grant, immunization grant, pay over our COVID,
Overtime, yeah.
or this grant.
You can't, well, you just said you can't exceed that. That's what I'm trying to say. You gotta, we're gonna have to monitor that.
I don't think I said not to exceed this. I said to exceed, as far as the positions won't exceed the term of the grant. And that the 121,593.55 is the approximate cost of the
Okay.
two staff members for
Whatever a staff member's salary is approved, and they go over it every year if they work.
They don't put a cap on that, or a limit on that.
So there's not a limit on this one then, right?
Okay, I don't think so. I think you're okay on this one. This is just an estimate, 'cause I'd like in the record to know that we are approximately, out of your grant, about 122,000 is gonna be what we're expecting to be out of this, just for the record. If it's 1,000 more or less, it should probably be less, anyway, you know,
Should be. Well,
if somebody, I mean, it should be that. I trust your math. So. Anything else for Mr. Warner? Anything you'd like to share with us?
That's all I got today.
All right, have a great day.
All right. Have a Merry Christmas. I'll see you guys.
This is something you want to take this to the city to give to the city to sign.
Sandy, you have something else for us for?
If you want a copy, I have one.
Yeah, you have this one?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So this is another miscellaneous item. This is the Telecom Care Mitel agreement that we have with Matrix Integration. This covers our remote support, on-site support for our telephone systems. This was emailed to us previously. This has 150 of the Mitel phones covered. I've compared it to the last 2 years' agreements, then I think the first year that we did this, the agreement was under 10,000, now it's up to 15,600. But we also have 40 more phones.
We added on the jail and corrections.
Right. So we've added on, my first thought, wow, that's a considerable amount in 2 years, but we have 50% more phones on it. So, I generally, I'll just leave it at that. It's something we've done the last 2 years for our telephone services. If the cords go bad, if the handsets go bad, or
If we have to add a line, if we have any problems with the line, if they have any phone issues, they take care of it.
it's another one of those things probably, with some of it, if we did have our own person, some of that work, we'd probably handle in-house, but
They just updated
As
our
much as that, I think
voicemail
that
and
other person would be nice to say, hey, can you go over this contract and tell me, are we in the right ballpark?
sure. Right, even if they didn't do the work, is this the right price to pay for it? And I don't know if they would know.
I think if you're in that industry, you probably know, or at least have a good idea.
I guess
I can read this thing start to finish and do it again. I'm not an IT guy, I don't really know what I'm looking at.
I read it. I think it keeps us in business every month. We have expensive phones and it helps keep them up and running. So I'm in favor of,
Just last week, they upgraded our voicemail and our auto attendant features, and I mean,
Oh, I'm in favor of it. I couldn't tell you if this is a good price, a bad price, if we're getting the service that we're paying for. I have no idea. They send it to us and you know, if it was HR related, I'd take it to Marky and Marky look over it and say, yay, nay, maybe, whatever. Legal, we take it to Greg, IT, make their word for it.
And
And I mean, they're a trustworthy company, I don't want to sound like,
that's kind of where I'm at, and I think, and I get get the concern that how do we know whether or not it's a good price? I think other companies would be knocking on our door, wanting our business if they thought we were, you know, that they could undercut the price.
but I still think we ought to be looking
I think
in the future of adding an IT,
well,
a single person IT department.
which is a different discussion, yeah.
And hopefully out of all our different contracts that we have, we could at least save back the salary and benefits or part of it in the first few years to where, you know, it would be an investment that has some payback.
so if our IT expense went from 300,000 to 240,000,
And we could,
60 of that could go towards an IT person.
right,
We may not,
and then going forward, we have a little more peace of mind in these.
does everyone, I'll move that we approve the Telecom Care Mitel agreement with Matrix Integration.
Any second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right, it's just about 10:45. Our next agenda item is the DuBois County Park Bid Award. The Park Board is looking forward to doing their construction and getting the project going in spring of 2022 and hopefully finishing the project by the end of the year. They have told us that they would like to have, that they would accept Cybert's bid of $928,370. Which is a responsive and the low bid for the project as it's being accepted. They asked us that we approve that bid, accept it and approve it, and that DNR, they have to have DNR review the contract, and they plan to have a pre-construction meeting and signing the contract. Would be the next step if they get our approval. As a reminder, they have $250,000 that they've gotten from a DNR grant. The edit or ARP funds from the county, $350,000, and then $328,370 from the park non-reverting fund. So they do have sufficient funds on hand for us or them to sign the agreement. That's where we stand. Anybody?
I'd only add one clarification if I may, Chad.
Yes, sir.
The total amount you would, is the accurate amount, but that would be awarding the base bid plus alternates 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. As those bid prices as well. That gave the total of $928,370.
So, yeah, the items 2 and 7 were excluded.
Correct.
I think this is fine news. We have the money to do this and ready to move forward with it, in my opinion. Commissioner Oster, any comments on the awarding the bid?
I agree, I'm ready to move forward on it.
Mr. Rollins?
Same here, I don't have any additional concerns or comments.
Mr. Schneider, from your knowledge of this, is this a situation we will, if the board approves the bid from Seifert, will someone from the park board be authorized to sign the agreement, or would it come back to the county commissioners to sign that agreement?
I'd have to check this. It was included in the bid documents, and I don't remember who the authorized signer was for that. But I would say it's whoever was included in the, as a part of the bid packet that everybody submitted the contract itself. I don't have that here. Okay. So you could authorize whoever is indicated on that on behalf of the county to execute it on its behalf.
Okay. So, I'll move that we approve the bid that was given by Seifert Construction for, with items 2 and 7 excluded, for the total of $928,370, with the contract to be executed by the named person in the bid document.
I'll second your motion.
All right, last chance, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. And looking forward to that. A lot of good things going on in the county, that's one of them.
So they're not gonna do 2, what?
2 and 7.
And as I looked over those bids, there was quite a range on those two, the ones they excluded, to like $50,000 between the two. I guess one of the things that always concerns me is the person making the bid, are they reading it the same way it's intended? I don't know, but anyway. Next up at 11 o'clock, Marky was gonna come over, but I guess we could have him come over early if he's available.
I can check on it.
Thank you.
I told him to tell me. I did want to let you all know that we did close the employee benefit trust with Silo. They sent us a check, so it's closed.
Good, I take that off of my thing that I got you about. Trust dissolution, when will it be at 0? It's 0 now.
It's at 0.
Hey, you too.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We put it in the fund, sent it.
So my family, we got something from Sci-Ho last week. I think our doctor turned it into the home company instead of going through, does that happen a lot? Or Marky, I guess I can tell you that too. So who is it now?
UGS. Well, here's what happens. They may have your old card on file at your doctor and they send it to the wrong one.
So Sci-Ho denied our claim, or whatever it was, because the doctor sent it to Sci-Ho instead of UGS. I don't know how often that happens, if you hear about that, but it happened to us this week, so I guess we're gonna be contacting
By
them.
us, you mean your family?
My family,
Okay.
yes, sir. Okay. So, I don't know if anybody else has had that.
Well, we've actually had that problem, just dealing with one this morning, but Unified filed it under the old 2020 member ID, not 2021 member ID, so we got fixed, but it's sort of similar.
I just had one, they sent to Cigna and not UGS.
Oh,
So,
really?
I mean, it happens.
We have a lot of claims, and you're gonna have mistakes.
Yeah.
All right, come on up, sir.
All right.
What's the good word today?
Well, wasn't on the agenda originally because it didn't need to be, but Friday evening, got basically an update from the OSHA mandated employee temporary standard with the COVID regulations. So, kind of give you a brief update of how this all transpired. So, the Biden administration, they come out early November and said basically employers 100 or more has to either get vaccinated or submit to weekly COVID testing and wear your face mask if you're not vaccinated in the workplace. So, of course, that was challenged by many attorney generals, governors in the United States. So, the Fifth Circuit Appeals, Court of Appeals, they put a stay on that order. That happened back in November 12th. So then it was decided that the Sixth Circuit, they all did a random poll. The Sixth Circuit won out, so they basically heard the appeal. So Friday evening, they basically paved the way to reinstate that employee temporary standard. So For me, that comes as a shock. I didn't see that one coming. I figured that it would get appealed, but it did not. So basically, this OSHA emergency temporary standard gets back in order. So basically, the dates are January 10th, planned enforcement, and the deadline for most employee temporary standard requirements to be enforced. OSHA's come out and said they will not, and February 9th for the testing requirements, but as long as you're showing good faith in trying to get the program underway, OSHA, Department of Labor said there won't be any fines or anything such. So just some orders of business in this employee temporary standard. Like I said, OSHA, they got the blessing there to govern it with the Department of Labor. So the ETS requires employers to ensure that employees not fully vaccinated test at least weekly. The ETS does not require the employers to pay any cost associated with that testing. It requires employers to ensure that each employee is not fully vaccinated, wear face mask coverings while indoors. And when it comes to fatalities and hospitalization, there's different reporting standards I would have to deal with there. ETS requires employers to make available for examination copy of employees' vaccine documents and the test results. So that's kind of a gray area right now because there's an Indiana Code 1639.11.5 that states the state and local units may not issue or require immunization passports. So you've got the OSHA standard versus the Indiana Code right now. Also, the state of Indiana, we're regulated under Indiana OSHA. We've got a state plan. So the states have up to 30 days to come up with their plan. It's supposed to be equivalent to the federal mandate. So Indiana OSHA has not yet done so. I assume that they will probably be doing that probably this week, in the next week. So I just want to give everybody an update for that. I'll try to send out some employee notifications today on just basically what this temporary standard includes, stuff to think about, and we'll see how things go. Logistically wise, all private employers currently, they have to mandate to this. So we've got several big employers in this county. So if you have people choosing to test weekly versus the vaccine, logistically, I don't think the health department or CVS is going to have enough COVID tests to adhere to that. So there's a lot of roadblocks, bumps in the road, but at the end of the day, this is the law and this is where we're going with it, it sounds like. So
How, let's say I wasn't vaccinated, who's gonna look at my test, or who's going to ensure that I did the test properly or didn't for the week?
Well, that will probably come back to me.
Mark?
Yep. So
With all the
HIPAA stuff and all that, it'll have to be, in the locked cabinets and
You're gonna get access to NBS then.
stuff of that nature. So it's going to be, this is something that, like me and Sean was discussing.
NBS is the website that all of the data is put into that we have to go to search for positive results if somebody needs to know. So then you would have to have access to that.
The good news is, another thing that some employers probably don't even have a plan in place. We already have the plan. We're doing a lot of the actions, the face coverings if you're not vaccinated and that. If somebody's positive, we're getting them out of here. We've got the COVID policy. Last commissioner's meeting, we extended into 2022. So we've got a lot of the framework already built for it, but it is something we're going to have to look at.
So if we had 100% of our employees that were vaccinated, we got nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. So,
I don't think
But-
that's true, but.
yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the bottom line. I guess the only thing that I was gonna ask the board, do we want Marky putting something out immediately? Should he wait a week? My estimation is this isn't going to be the final word on it. I guess what I would hate to do is say, employees, this is what's coming, and then tomorrow we get a thing from Conroe Key that says, we're challenging this,
Yes.
this isn't starting until whenever.
I mean, the next step is through the Supreme Court. There's already been, I think Texas is a state that's already headed there with the Supreme Court. So this thing is going to escalate just like it did the last time when it went to the Court of Appeals. But since then, they paved the way for it. So I think we have to at least have our action plan in place, which I feel confident where we're at in the process. And other big things, the Indiana code. It's requiring us to get copies of their vaccine records. Indiana code says we can't do that, so I would think that this.
Is it an OSHA regulation? Is that going to supersede a state law?
Indiana code, and I'm one.
I know a federal law would supersede.
Federal law would, but a regulation may not.
That's what I'm thinking, so I don't know where we would be on this.
Yeah, so.
My thought on it would be, let's wait till the Tuesday we're back from vacation before we send things out.
That's perfectly fine. I'm good with that. Because there's a lot of things going to happen between now and then. I'm sure. But, and like I said, logistically wise, I'm not sure the health department could support all the weekly tests from all employers in this county anyway.
There's no way possible
so-
that our testing site could maintain that. These employees would have to probably come on with their own testing program themselves.
At their own expense. At their own expense, I would assume.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they would have to find those tests
I mean,
somewhere.
our site probably maxes out at 200 maybe a day, 250 at the most. Unless they want to throw more money at us and hire more people, but that's
That'll
not
take
going
6
to happen.
months.
Yeah.
Do we have any, do
Will.
we know this? Do
We
we
can.
have any employers who are voluntarily have this in place already, the testing requirement in place already, or any of them that we know of?
Not that I know of. I've had some people reach out to me to see if we could meet their needs, and I said, there ain't no possible way. Not if you're gonna send me 100, you're gonna send me 200, you're gonna send me 300 a week. And plus, all the other people that are needing tested, they're doing, 170 to 100 rapids a day, and then another 50 to 100 PCRs a day. That's just people in the community that need to be tested. That's not people that are working. And then if we can't get rapids the way it is. If they're gonna have to get PCRs every week, they go and get a PCR on Monday, they won't get results till maybe Thursday. What are they gonna be off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, go back Friday, and they get tested again on Monday and work one day every week? I don't know how it's gonna work.
I think it's like a lot of things. It looks good on paper, but we've not got all the logistics.
Clearly not that well thought out.
Exactly. So,
I mean, if it was a rapid, that's fine and dandy, but we can't get rapids to even take care of, the symptomatic people in our county right now.
There's a potential of thousands of people that need a test every week.
Oh, no,
I mean, yeah.
thousands.
Yeah.
So probably,
And if there's shortages now, you multiply the people that need it by 4 or 5.
and then your labs are gonna get inundated because everybody's gonna need PCR because we can't get rapids, then the turnaround time is gonna go from 2 to 3 days to 4, 5, 6 days.
Commissioner Bramos, are you okay with Marky waiting? Put something
Yes,
out for another week?
waiting until after the first of the year, before putting out to employees.
The main thing I want to do, especially
And I
since you
think
guys.
you are planning on your end of it as to what needs to be, what we need to do to
Yes.
put this in place if it comes to that.
Yeah, I've got no concerns on us being able to do it within reason, but, if that time comes. But, Commissioner session in session today, and that ruling that came out, I did want to at least get it in your, out into you guys' in the meeting forum, that at least, that way, in case you guys got questions in the next 2 weeks of, hey, I heard this or whatnot, or what.
Anything else for Mr. Rhodes today? Any other great news for us?
That's it for today.
Can't wait to hear from you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you, and this is an out there question, do you have any idea of the percentage of our employees that would be vaccinated, or do you have any guess?
Well, I mean, again, right now, we don't have the official, if I was to just base off of people that wear masks and that, I would say we're 90-some%, but you know, we don't have the, you know,
Can't ask.
we can't ask, hey, you're not wearing your mask, are you officially vaccinated, or are you just not following our policy, you know?
I can't imagine we're much different than the rest of the population in the county.
What is DuBois County, about 57%?
No.
I mean, what are they? I don't know.
I can look up the exact amount.
It depends on what vaccinated means. Is it the 2 shot, the boosters were way behind, I'm sure.
At this point, it's still the 2.
It's still just 2 or 1 Johnson & Johnson to say you're vaccinated. But, yeah, I would probably say that what I see, probably 90%, realistically, probably 60 or 70, honestly, based off of state numbers, local Southern County numbers.
But still, just best guess.
That's just best guess, though. Yeah, there's no way.
And I agree, even the test, you know, if it comes to a testing mandate, say it is 30%, that number of vaccines will go up and testing down to somewhere in between there. It won't be,
Yeah.
you know,
I think
it'll drive
that's the hope,
vaccines
yeah.
is what it would do. But there will still be a considerable number that need to be tested.
You know, on a personal note, I wish people would get vaccinated. They can, but there's some people with legitimate good reasons that they don't think it's in their best health interest or even their religious interest to do so.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was I know it's been a struggle for some people to make the determination to get a vaccine or not.
I'm just generally opposed to mandates, and especially a mandate that if we're trying to control the spread and you can still get it and you can still spread it once you're vaccinated, why are we pushing so hard to make people vaccinate? People, I mean, at this point, we're 2 years into this, and people know what they're up against. They know what the disease is and what it can cause. And I just feel like people can make their own decision and be it the wrong one or the right one. It's not our decision to make for them. But it's not in my hands.
Any final comments?
I would question, should we reach out to Todd Rokita and ask to address this as a board or as individual members of the board, or just trust that they probably will?
I'm satisfied they will because they did initially.
He's not so quiet about it.
Yeah. The governor and him, they opposed it initially, so I look for them to probably. Yeah.
Probably if we did it, if you wanted to do it for something personally, that'd be fine, but I don't.
58.4%.
That wasn't too far off.
What was it?
58.4. That's an eligible. So
5 and older.
Yeah, 5 and older.
5 and older, okay. And a good portion of those, I suspect, are in that 5 to
The
18.
portion that we're worried about is probably 18 and older, and that's a higher percentage than the 5 to 18. As the lower the age, the lower.
Not that the younger ones aren't a concern, but you're right, it's,
For this policy that they're talking
It's
about,
the
the
older
workforce.
yeah, the workforce is older, yeah.
Which would be much higher. Not much, but it would be higher.
Do you by chance know the number of hospitalizations between 5 and 18 in the county
Right now,
since the beginning of the pandemic? Due to
Yeah.
COVID,
I don't know the exact amount now.
I'd be willing to bet it's somewhere between 0 and 5.
I mean, I'd send that to you guys.
Right.
Whenever, usually, every now and then they'll have to be in there.
The last update we got from the hospital, they publicly put out too, though, about the vaccine. The 8 people that were in the ICU are all unvaccinated. The other, whatever amount that they had, all unvaccinated.
I'm not opposed to the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm double vaxxed. I see those numbers. I made my choice based on that type of stuff. But I mean, I understand there's other people out there that have different metrics that they're making their decision by. And I just don't agree with forcing them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you.
Have a cheerful day.
You all too.
Thank you.
Spread joy wherever you
No.
go.
I'm gonna try.
I don't have that effect on me.
All right.
Good on paper.
Sure the city will lock its doors when they see you come.
That's a lot of road bump. All right, we'll see what happens. I'm thinking you probably haven't heard the last of that, so that's something we'll have on the radar. Next up, I don't,
I guess I gotta come up, so I'm gonna present it for you, because you're not gonna be here, right? Well, I have to create a salary ordinance and all that.
Brent, any updates on flooding and DuBois drainage issues?
No.
Nope.
Well, I think I'm back online. I did talk to Brad, and he's got a design that I'm gonna bring for Hoaxing and all that, but it's not gonna work. It will work in theory, but I don't think they're gonna want it to be like that.
Brad's Eckerly?
Yeah, it completely comes from the softball field, the parking lot, with all the base of the hill. That's how big the basin has to be to handle a 100-year flood in order to let it go through slow. It's not even for the big event, it's just for a 100-year flood. It's astronomical, so.
I mean, at least it's something that we've said, we've looked at it, and we have to weigh, does it make sense to spend and to use that property, or does it not? And, you know, we'll deal with consequences, so. Yeah, thank you for that. The treasurer and auditor office update, we did, approve the drawings, and, I think the next step would be getting bids.
I think it's sent it out, didn't
I
they?
think they sent those out, yeah, so.
The commissioners are really happy.
I don't believe I have anything else. Let's just see what Mr. Schneider, you got anything else? Bankruptcy update?
Two things, yeah, so Steve and I had a conference call with our bankruptcy attorney, basically just kind of seeing where we're at. You know, we don't know where the future lies for that mine, if it's taking it over, not going to be taking it over, obviously.
So where do you live?
Steve and I are
So I
working
know which
on,
commissioner to give this to.
probably Brent too. He may or may not know yet, working on
But where
estimates
at?
for the repair of those roads to
Do you know
update
which
our
township
claims
you're
that we
in?
have filed in
Rosine?
the bankruptcy cases. And then seeking a relief from the stay order to go ahead and
Jackson,
collect on
Jefferson?
those bonds, provided they're still there for us and eligible for us to utilize them best we can.
What's your address?
So it's still a waiting game. I think January was the deadline for filing those claims. And they're gonna get something to Steve and I and
If
we'll
you're in
approve it
Rosine,
and
then you're
send
in
it off
Jefferson
to
Township.
file it.
So you're confident that whatever we can have done at this point, we've done it?
I'm confident that we're doing what we can.
I'm gonna-
I'm not confident that it's gonna result in what we
Is
want.
1, 2, 4, 5, 3,
Very good statement.
5?
It's just tough for me to swallow that we wouldn't at minimum get 100% of whatever's bonded.
I'll give this to the.
I mean, is that, are you thinking that that's not even
Okay.
gonna be a possibility? Well, I guess the one thing, the last thing we agreed on
Bye.
was within that look back period. So the other, I mean, but the other thing seems like it should be,
Should be able to collect on those again, provided they're still active and in place, which we're looking at as well.
okay.
Who has Berzo? This guy has a drainage problem.
I heard you saying it, I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Well, he didn't know exactly where he lived.
That happens.
And then the other issue that came up, I think there were some borings that went on, that was affecting the county's property. I did reach out to the city and talked to Brent, talked to Commissioner Bramas, talked to Scott Hope some. I know that there were some ruts that were left. I have not addressed that with the city yet. I will approach them on that. But as far as what this looks like for us going forward, two possible things, one, an interlocal agreement or anything that was just based upon what they're doing for us, just invoiced directly to us. There's no final position on that. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on it. This kind of came up Thursday?
I think it was Thursday.
I think Thursday sounds right.
Wednesday, Thursday, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, you and I talked, the mayor and I talked. And I said, I just would feel better if we had some kind of an agreement in place, some kind of, written agreement in place. Take the ramp as an example. I view the ramp as a county responsibility. But if we're going to build a ramp, we need to enter into, it makes sense to me that we would enter into an agreement with a design firm, the engineering firm, and then eventually the construction firm to do that.
Right.
If we're going to count on the city, utilizing the city's engineering firm, they have an agreement with them, we don't. And then eventually the construction the same way. You know, it doesn't seem like the right way to go. If we're gonna allow them to do that, then we need an agreement with the city.
Do we need an agreement with the city?
With the city.
Our interests,
Yeah.
yes.
It'll protect the city's interest too, because at this point, we are on the hook to pay zero for anything. It'll be in their best interest to get an agreement with us so that we all are on the same page with who's paying for what. At this point, 2 of the 3 board members could say we're not paying anything, and whatever expenses would be for the city. So we need to have an agreement as well.
But I think there's 3 areas, the ramp, the parking lot, the small lot on the west side, and the sidewalk. Beyond that, I think it's all city infrastructure. Unless I'm missing something there, those 3 things.
The only thing they're missing is they'll want us to do a contribution for the rest
Well,
of it.
in addition to that, they'll want,
Is
I
the
understand
sidewalk, I'm just asking, is the sidewalk around, would that be considered city property? Or is
I
that
don't know.
kind of, what does the city do for the rest of them, the wrap around? When they do work, is it 50/50? Is it all city, all owner? I don't know, I'm just,
I don't know either.
If
it's
it's a
something
city project,
negotiable if you look at the contract, so.
if it's a city project, they pay 100%. If they make an agreement with the homeowner, then they split it.
Is that what it is? Okay.
That's what
They
it
have different programs.
Okay.
There's a wait list, one's longer. The,
Okay.
okay, you know how that works.
Yeah,
The 50/50 is faster.
okay.
But the 100% takes.
That's right. You mentioned the sidewalk, I didn't know if that would be
No,
a city or a county, and I
And
don't care,
I
I
don't
just,
know either, and that's some of the things that need to be hammered out.
So you don't want
You're
to
referring to the
anticipate
sidewalk
having to
leading
do
up
it
to
and then
the
say, oh, no,
courthouse.
you don't,
Yeah,
or vice versa.
Out here. What's gonna be.
Send us a bill
Yeah.
for,
Okay.
Send us a
Whatever.
bill for something that we had no idea what we would
Yeah.
get.
That we legally couldn't pay because we don't have any funds for it.
Exactly. Or if something came up and there's a a change order that we're not aware
So that's a good thing that you're.
Again, we started a conversation and I think they were gonna speak with REA. And see what is gonna be needed on that end and then figure out how best fits for us. One of those 2 or a hybrid of those 2.
Anything else, sir?
I don't think so. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
On the record.
I'm not tied to it.
Anybody have, so the Ready announcement was last week and Upland's got, what, $50 million, is that right? Or 30? 30.
30 million.
Okay, 30 million. I read,
which I haven't talked to anybody in that organization, I don't know, I suspect there's some disappointment there.
Well, we're the bigger area, we got less money than some of the smaller ones.
Yeah, I've not heard any reasons for it yet. Still, it's $30 million. Still a lot of money.
I
It
looked
wasn't,
at,
it wasn't the big prize.
they have booklets that are like this, digital booklets this big, and I searched all 5 of them for the word Du Bois, and our name comes up on 2 of them, the Uplands one and the other southern Indiana one. And the projects that are on there, it didn't get me excited for Du Bois County. I don't know much about what's going on with Ready. I guess what I'm getting at, do either of the 2 of you know how this is going to impact residents of Du Bois County?
Not specifically yet, no. To your point, Du Bois County has projects on the list, but now is when the local Ready committee, if you will start to look at those projects that are on the list and say, this is one we can get behind right away, this one here,
Is there such a thing?
what, a Ready committee?
A local one?
In ROI and Uplands,
Oh, you mean the big committee? I mean the regions committee?
yes.
Oh,
Yes,
I thought
the
you meant like
Regions
Du Bois County.
No, the
Spencer
Regions
County.
Committee. we were all asked to submit projects back when to this. And we could still do that.
What are the projects we submitted?
Well, the sewer was one of those, the broadband, I think was, trails, were some of them that, from the county, and the cities and towns have submitted their own list, so I don't have it in front of me as, you said you've looked at the list of projects
I think you can go to Okra and then look at Ready, and then it'll have, whatever, 7 regions maybe? I'm trying to think of how many regions there were. But there was a number of
in the
regions.
state.
Yes.
Every county is included, but
Every county is included, and there were 17, I think.
Was there 17? I don't remember. There was a bunch.
I think there were 17 regions, and I don't quote me on that.
it was just in the Herald last week.
So anyway, I guess that's ongoing. If any of you have comments on that, I don't have any. All right.
There were more regions than what they could fund $50,000 per, $50 million per region. I know that, that's why.
Well, wasn't it a $500 million grant, so that makes sense.
10, if it had been 10 regions, they could have
Because
all been.
there was a lot of them that
I
got
think it was
30
17.
million, was a lot of them.
The one to the south here, Perry Spencer Orange, I think theirs is 15, maybe.
The only other thing I
We
have
were
is,
with ROI, right?
I'm sorry.
What, our group was ROI?
Yes, it's called the Uplands ROI, yes.
the other thing, I think I just recently, I don't remember, on Friday, maybe sent Matrix some more questions on multi-factor authentication. Is that when I did that? Did you agree on those? Anyway, I'm still trying to figure
I
out.
think you said that Friday.
Yeah, I think Friday afternoon, so I'm still trying to figure out a way to do that doesn't cost another $14,000.
We will be doing training on that with No Before starting in January. We set that up Friday. Just kind of giving people what is multi-factor.
Okay.
How does it go before, how's the participation in that? Is there money
It depends on the program.
I mean, the participation should be 100%.
It's not, it's about 70 to 80. But
Do you want to give me a list of the 20 that don't do it? We can answer.
on which
Which people don't do it?
well, there's each training campaign, you set up a training campaign and that it tracks it. So, but then you've also got I got 2 out there that are clicker campaigns. If you click on phishing, it puts you in clicker 1. You do that training. If you click on more than so many, then it puts you in clicker 2 training, which is longer and more intense. Some of those people don't follow up or they just ignore them. So we just refreshed it all and kicked it out again so people got noticed. So hopefully it reminds them every so often. You've got a campaign out there, you got training.
Right.
I mean, I'd be okay
I know I get them and
Now, at first, we had it where you had to remember your password. We got rid of that because people would say, I don't remember my password, I can't do my training. So now we made it passwordless and we've changed it so when you get a notice, you just click on that link and it takes you straight in. So, but I still have to monitor it, and which I can give you lists.
I was gonna say, I mean, the policy is that everybody does it. That's the reason we're doing it. And if the people that are the worst offenders don't do the training, that's the worst part of it. So I wouldn't be opposed to saying it needs to be done by 2 weeks, or it goes in it's a bad mark against you in your employee file.
Now, there is places in there where I can send you emails on people who don't do it, but I don't really want 50 emails a month on people who didn't do the training. When I can do it and access to reports, but.
I don't mind sending out nasty grants if I have to. And I mean, it needs to get done. We're not asking the world of them that you do it during your shift.
We usually try
yeah,
to
you do it during your work hours.
No.
You're paid to.
It's usually, I try to pick, I don't pick the hour and 2 hour long ones. I pick the 5 and 10 and 15 minute ones. Cause I know people's time is valuable, but
No, they're good, and,
They're really
And-
quick and
and-
easy.
when I get through them, I think, I went through this last month or last time or whatever, but just a refresher, is important.
Keep it top of mind so you don't do something stupid.
Are there different levels for
Not really.
people who are fully on the network versus me, who I only have email?
No, I don't have it based on, you could set up groups like that, but I just don't,
I don't know that.
everybody's in a user group and we push out to everybody. And then, like I said, if you click on those spoofed emails that it sends out, then you get put in clicker groups.
Additional training. All right, let's go to the other commissioners, see if there's anything else, any other business.
I'm good. I'm nothing.
The only thing I have, I just got an email this morning from Tina Higgins with the County Commissioners Association. They put out a directory every year. She wants to update that directory and looking for example, on commissioner's home address, county email, phone, party affiliation, term expires, and spouse's name. Any problem with me sending her that information?
Please do.
Okay. And the same with the auditor and the HR director.
Yeah, I got that email from Tina too, but if you'll take care of it, I can get rid of mine.
Okay, I will. I'll take care of it. Maybe you got it too, I don't know.
I haven't been on my email this morning.
And if you figured out
Doesn't
anything.
matter, it doesn't want the engineer's report.
I got that.
Because I sent
You
you
got that one?
Engineer highway department.
Okay.
I sent 3,600 emails. I'm down to like 500 emails.
So it's everything.
I also deleted all my documents and I haven't checked again, but it still wasn't letting me do emails in and it wasn't letting me send any.
I had 2 kickback last week, but I sent another one and it never came back on Friday.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So I sent them.
I'll double check,
I sent
'cause I-
4 and it didn't reject them until the next
I'm
day.
glad Chad sent me something because I was like, how? This is a really small email.
Real peaceful.
Mine,
I just texted you. It was easier.
my personal email, I had my personal email last week too.
Yeah.
Not my county email. And once in a while it'll happen also, and my point is, let me know when it happens.
When they come
It happens to
Usually-
my voicemail sometimes.
When it happens, Google will send me a notification that it's full, and it'll say you can take these steps to take care of it, or you can buy our extra storage. And I always take those steps, and I delete a whole bunch of files, and I'm good to go again. And this time I did it, and I said, go ahead and send it again. It didn't come through.
I
It
think
just
there
was
might
not
have been
letting it
something
through.
going on in the Google world.
What I forget about sometimes, I delete a bunch of emails, but they're hanging out in the trash.
Nope. Deleted the trash bin too. That's one of the suggestions. So.
I was sending him about 5 names of, same thing I sent you, and yeah, they just kept.
Kept bouncing back.
Luckily, he kept saying, I didn't get them. I sent him again, didn't get them.
So finally I gave him a new email address. Let's try this one.
So my goal when I send you guys something that's important or really going to look at, I try to send a text after, just to make sure.
I appreciate that. 'Cause I get from you maybe 2 times a week. And I'm not there to checking them.
So did we say anything else, Commissioner?
No.
Auditor good? Mr. Sharon?
Still good.
Public comment?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. You might have addressed it when I was out now. The ready, because I heard you talk about the ready grants that were what, 30 million,
Yes.
300 million, or whatever. it was,
30 million, yes.
The Upland Group.
Yes.
Were there specific projects that were approved to
Not
get
by,
those 30?
the, what is it, the Indiana Finance Authority, what is it, that actually held the 500 million,
Yeah.
and they distributed it to the
Various regions.
agency, the various regions,
Yeah.
but they didn't determine which projects should be funded with that, no. They looked at, ROI put together a proposal.
Right.
As to how they would spend
Several projects.
several projects and how it would help the region and that sort of thing. And it was just that general proposal that determined the $30 million. Now it's up to ROI to identify the specific
Which ones
projects.
would work for that? Okay, that's why I was unclear. I didn't know.
And also remember that this ready grant is an 80-20, meaning we have to come up with 80.
Yeah.
And that 30 million represents 20. So it's gotta be a project that is already, I'm not gonna say well-funded, but already,
Yeah. Were they disappointed they didn't get the 50?
right. Well, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I said. I haven't talked to anybody there yet.
Yeah.
I was kind of, oh, what happened? You know, because I was expecting the full amount.
Yeah.
But I'm not on that committee or anything. And so I don't know. They thought they had a very good presentation anyway. I think they were expecting the full amount, or at least as much as anybody else got, because many of them did get the full 50 and we didn't, so.
Saw that. All right. Well, that's all I have.
Yeah, I was just trying to find that list again. The IEDC, is that
Yes, that's the state agency that was distributing the money.
So yeah, if you go to the website, I believe that's the place where you can see what everybody got. Yep, all the participating regions have their proposals on here. All right.
Okay.
Stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
Sandy, what do I get here?
That is,
Write it down.
I don't mean to like